All right, and we are live. All right, everybody, welcome to Caldera. This is our 12th session, I believe, and the second session for On the Lamb and For the Slaughter. Thank you if you're tuning in now or later, and I hope you enjoy it. We'll go through a couple of things here before we get started. The first of which is that this is an adult game, and these are all adults that are playing, at least in physical years. And so there will be bad language that is inevitably going to come up, and there will be mature topics that come up from time to time in the story, and things like violence and things like that. So if that kind of stuff offends you, please go ahead and close this video down right now. But you have been warned. In addition, in spirit, this game was kind of somewhat drawn inspiration from a graphic novel called The Sixth Gun, which I very highly recommend you read if you're into this kind of weird West meets fantasy kind of stuff. It's very, very cool, and it's very much in the same vein. As far as a recap as to what happened last time, the group had escaped from Scattergun Flats, a town that was kind of under the control of a pack of werewolves. Eagle Witness ended up finding Brother Cutter, who was kind of wandering the desert, and the two of them made their way back to where the Angels of the Gallows were waiting. And the Skull, the bounty hunter, who had been with the Angels up until this point, had a crisis of faith and decided to take his leave, at least for the time being, and left the Angels of the Gallows behind. So the group kind of convened and decided that they were going to make their cross-land trek to the town of Tall Shadows so that they could pick the train up there and then take the train, the AA Western, through Wayward Gallows and down into Mournful Valley, where there is rumor that there is a dwarf, Mage Right, who hides in plain sight. He works for a warehouse that handles the arcane acquisitions in Mournful Valley. So they are headed on their direction, on their way to go and see him, and in a roundabout way, getting to Partridge's Push, where they may or may not decide to hand the shield of St. Pomard back over to Mr. Curtis Caldwell, who initially sent them after the shield. In their trek on their way back to Tall Shadow, they took a small siesta at a place in the river that had a little bend and a shady spot. And as they were relaxing, a creature attacked them, and it was a 12 to 15 foot tall cactus treant. It hailed them with an onslaught of needles and pummeled them with its cactus tendrils and things, but ultimately they prevailed and ended up spilling its life essence all over the ground, and may have been a little sore for the worse for wear, but all in all, they survived with very little issue. They pressed on to Tall Shadow, where Mad Dog and Eagle Witness refused to pay for their train ticket, and instead they hijacked a train cart. I don't know exactly what you call it, but it's the pumping thing that makes it move down the track. And they took off in front of the train, only to be very quickly caught up to by the train, and then managed to perform a feat of acrobatics and ridiculousness that ended up with them jumping from the little pushcart onto the front of the train and basically telling the conductor, "Too bad, so sad," and or the engineer rather, "Too bad, so sad," and sneaking on board, where they met the rest of the group and had a small bit of tension that they had to deal with the conductor, who attempted to come and collect tickets. But they got that all resolved, for better or worse, and are still on the train on their way back to Wayward Gallows currently. That is where we left off, and that is where we will be picking up. Is there anything that you guys can think of that I left off of important note? No? All right. So then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start with introductions. Starting on the far left, we'll start with Brian.
I am Brian, and I am playing Joe, at least this week.
And that's all, Joe.
Just Joe. Yeah, I think you are a fighter. Is that correct, Joe?
Yes, sorry. I am playing a fighter of the Eldritch Knight variety.
Excellent. Very cool. Okay. And then Dan is joining us for his second session.
Yeehaw! I am Dan. I'm playing Daryl Kate, a paladin lawman. I've been tasked to bring Travis, who is now Joe, back to the east for desertion of his duty. But we'll see how that goes. And other than that, I'm a paladin, not a preacher.
Excellent. Perfect. And then next we have Derek.
I am Derek. I am playing Padre Estevez, the cleric of Luz, hoping to bring the word of the Lord to the Caldera.
Excellent. Perfect. And then we have Eli.
Yeah, so I'm Eli, and I'm playing Eagle Witness, and I am neither a paladin nor a preacher, and I do not want the light of Luz to come to the Caldera. Thank you very much. I'm a Durathian brave, and recently I took a level of fighter, so I am a little tougher than I used to be.
Excellent. Perfect. And then we have Mike.
So I'm playing Dree, Mad Dog Tannen. He is a smuggler by trade. He's a halfling. Likes to get himself into trouble. And he's actually come to collect pistols. Those are his weapon of choice. Well, actually dynamite is his weapon of choice, but it's a little bit harder to come by. I just double-checked my sheet. I currently am carrying 11 pistols. Of the Derringer/pistol variety, so I'm going to see how many of those I can end up with by the end, and we'll go from there.
Excellent. Okay, and then last but certainly not least, we now have Alex, who's joined us with Brother Cutter.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm playing Brother Cutter. I am a half-insane prophet of Luz. And I call myself the Swiss Army Prophet because I'm kind of good at everything. Not really good at anything, but kind of good at everything.
Excellent. Fantastic, guys. Okay, so yeah, we'll go ahead and get started now. All right, so yeah, you guys are in the dining car of the AA Western that is headed between Tall Shadow and Wayward Gallows. So, after the brief exchange that you had with the conductor in the trying to collect the tickets, what would you guys like to do?
Well, Eagle Witness is staring out the window, and he says, "I have not been. The AA is the best Western."
Good Lord.
Other than that, I'm going to be quiet.
Okay.
Cutter actually wants to bug Eagle Witness and keep asking him stuff about his tribe so he can write it down. Because he recently mentioned that he knew a lot about his now extinct tribe.
Yeah, well, I'd be happy to share any of it. So, Eagle Witness, he says, "Well, I do not know much of my people. They were destroyed long ago. But I was raised among the Kiohe. I can speak many tales of their enmity with the Shando, and with the Chanachise especially." Actually, I spit after that one. And then I launch into a long explanation.
And write it down, especially the parts where he spits.
Tries to catch the spit on the paper.
Daryl would like to pop out from the back of the train car and say, "What you guys do? Forget about me?"
Who is this guy? Who is this guy?
Yeah, you guys kind of left me in town there. I was glad. Thanks for letting me in on where you guys were going.
Padre will speak up. Brother Cade, welcome. Join us, and we'll indicate a spot at the table.
Thank you, Padre. At least there's some hospitality in the Caldera.
Was your mission a success?
Yeah, I had to take care of some business, but it went well. Thank you very much.
Very good.
So, where are we going now again?
Yes, I am actually going to retcon something slightly here. I was reminded that you guys had already actually arrived at Wayward Gallows, and we're now on the way to Mournful Valley from there. So that is actually where you currently are. You have spent the night on the train because there was an instance where Mad Dog went and retrieved what he thought was some lost property. From, I believe, the conductor, the money that was exchanged for the tickets.
This is correct.
That's correct? Okay. Good deal.
Still have not paid for a train ticket.
Yep, that's right. So, yeah, you can take a point of inspiration as well, Dan, for figuring out a great way to get your character back with the group. That was wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so...
He's like the Spanish Inquisition. You just say his name and he pops through the door.
Exactly, because nobody expects that.
Oh, wait!
So yes, you guys are actually southbound between Wayward Gallows and Mournful Valley. And you, as you're kind of wandering about the train, or maybe even Dariel actually probably brings this information with him, that there is a contingent of soldiers from the Army of the Integrated Realms that are on board the train. They're in one of the other cars. So
yeah,
if you would
I
like
would
to discuss that.
happy to share that since my ward has been charged with deserting. I'll bring that to his attention.
Yeah, so as Dariel makes note of me, I'm gonna look over to him and walk up and extend my hand and say, "Hi, I'm Joe. Nice to meet you."
Travis.
Who's that?
You're not fooling me, son.
Says, "Well, I hear the military's back here, and I'm with them. I'll be back in a few minutes." And I'm gonna head back towards the military car.
I'll go with him.
I'm also going to go with him, but for completely unrelated reasons.
Eagle Witness is just going to chill out in the dining car because he actually really dislikes the military.
Yeah, the Padre will discreetly push a prayer book towards Eagle Witness.
Discreetly push what towards Eagle Witness?
A prayer book will lose.
Oh, there you go.
And knowing that there's military on board, one of the counties that we're actually headed to, Mad Dog is wanted in, so he's going to go make himself scarce.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, go ahead and make a general stealth for Mad Dog. It won't be hard to do, but just kind of curious how that'll play out.
It comes out to a 22.
Excellent. Okay, yeah, it's scarce indeed. Okay. So, if I understand it correct, we have Travis, Dariel, and Cutter that are headed towards the where the army is at. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Let's see here. Okay. So, as you guys are approaching the car where you were told that these soldiers were located. The first thing that you notice is that you begin hearing gunfire.
Ooh. Well, then I
But
will
I hasten my step.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you kind of hear, it sounds like long arms fire.
Would we hear gunfire from the car we remained in?
I would say so.
Okay. Upon hearing gunfire, the Padre will stand up and then head that way. So I'm a ways behind them, but I'm following now.
Sure thing. Okay. So like I said, it sounds like long arm fire. It sounds like rifle fire. And you hear yelling that accompanies it, but it kind of sounds like celebratory yelling and not like fighting or arguing. And as you get even closer, you get to the point where you can kind of see some of the rifles. You know, there's a bend in the track or whatever, so the train kind of curves around, and you're able to see several long barrels sticking out of the windows of the train car. And putting two and two together, you figure out that the soldiers that are present have more or less taken over the particular car that they're in. The rest of the populace has abandoned and left it alone because they don't want anything to do with what's going on. But the soldiers are probably a little bit this side of sober, and are actually shooting buffalo out in the prairie as the train is riding by. And just dropping them kind of left and right.
That's the sort of thing I would hear back in the dining car.
You absolutely hear the gunshots. No, the rest of it probably not, but definitely the gunfire.
Can I make like a notice or an insight or something to try and detect it? Perception.
I've got something I'm going to do. Brother Cutter's going to send Seshat to go get Eagle Witness because he is very upset by this, and he wants Eagle Witness to come help him stop this.
Yeah, I would say because with that joined with the fact that Eagle Witness was already looking out the window, I would say it doesn't pass his notice at all.
Okay.
So he absolutely sees what's going on.
Yeah.
Let me know when the Padre would be able to see it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure for right now, Eagle Witness is just going to like close his eyes and silently commend all those spirits away as they're being shot.
Oh, Seshat's going to come, land on your shoulder, and grip you with its talons, and then fly away, urging you to come with him.
Oh, he looks, and then he looks out on the horizon, and he sees the eagle flying in the distance, and he nods, and he stands up and walks after Seshat.
I'd like to go find out who's in charge of the military here, or the army.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hang on. I was trying to figure out what was going on in chat there, but let me get this up here. There it is. Okay. You guys see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, as you guys enter the car, you know, they kind of look up from what's going on with the kind of a you know, almost a "you're not supposed to be here" kind of look.
I'm gonna flash rank insignia.
What was that rank?
I don't remember. You never locked it down for me. You just.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was corporal.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I have Corporal James Travis here in my notes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Then I will make sure that's recorded. Thank you.
No problem. And then, was I officially like a reclaimer? Is that some sort of rank that I
believe so. Now the reclaimers are not a military rank.
Right.
They are like the U.S. Marshals or the Texas Rangers. So
Right.
while it's not strictly part of the military, you definitely have sway.
Yeah, I'm at least affiliated in some tangential way that I can at least hold my own, and they won't take me as a total commoner.
Right, absolutely. So yeah. So you guys walk in and you flash your rank. See if I can't make that a little bit bigger. I don't know if that actually increased the size on y'all's screen or not, but
It does a little bit, yeah.
okay, good. So yeah, you enter and they kind of look, and this individual kind of saunters over to you, checks your paperwork, things like that. At this point, yes, Derek, you would be 30 feet from the car.
Okay, then upon seeing what they're doing, I'm going to say a prayer to lose, and all the windows that are currently down are going to slam up. And it's passing commentary.
Okay. So yeah, several of them with the rifles that are still sticking out of them, it kind of clatters their rifles up into the jam, and they kind of start cursing, "What the hell?" and things like that. And they kind of clamor to try to see if they can't get the windows back down or try to recover their rifles or what have you. So there's a little bit of malarkey that's going on. Meanwhile, this individual has closed with Joe and Daryl, and he's kind of looking over your paperwork. And he has introduced himself as Sergeant Major Mitchell Hicks. Is his full name that he gives you. And he definitely has kind of an air of superiority, a little bit of smugness. And he kind of has a little bit of an unwashedness about him as well. He kind of, spits a little bit of tobacco, into a nearby spittoon, and, a little bit gets on his chin, but he doesn't seem too bothered about it.
Lovely. I'm going to say, greetings, Sergeant Major. Isn't this a waste of ammo?
Depends on your definition of waste.
All right. Whatever. Anyway, I have here with me, and I'll point to Travis. I have with me a deserter.
Is that right?
And I'm assuming I have paperwork and show it to him.
Yeah, I would imagine that at the very least you have a, I don't know what it would be called, a missive or a charge or whatever that details, the fact that you'd have to go after him and why and all that kind of stuff. He is, okay. So, Brian, if he is not a deserter, then what are the charges? What was he?
There never were charges. Like the backstory that I have is I am the only one left alive of my squad, and this is the first interaction I've had with military since.
Right.
So I have no idea where deserter and all the other stuff came from, but
yeah,
it would be if that's from a separate something or other, then hey, so be it. But there was absolutely zero intention of my character being outlaw, deserter, etc. I am he still has soldier background. He is still a ranked officer, etc.
I think what it came from was the fact that it was found out that you were still alive and you never came reporting back in.
Well, and I mean, from a story perspective, it came from the fact that I was supposed to be traveling with a lawman, and so it was an easy contrivance to put things together. But
yep.
I would not he and I for sure would have had the "I'm not a deserter" conversation, and I'd probably hit him at this point if this was a. I'm not a deserter in my character's mind, at least.
Oh,
and he would be fully aware of that. So I'm not being brought up in irons or anything like that. It's
no.
So again, just I'll stop the out of character, but.
Oh, no worries.
That would not that's a huge honor insult for my character. And so.
Okay, so we need to figure out a reason as to why you are accompanying this lawman. Then, why it is that you're being brought in, either whether it be a misconception or not. So, and obviously now would be a good time to get that sorted because it has a potential bearing on what happens next.
We could just say he was using magic, and the reclaimer saw it.
Yeah, even something as simple as that would be fine with me.
I mean, I'll leave that to you, but if I am supposed to be a prisoner of this lawman, I wouldn't be traveling with him. Like, we were traveling together. I wasn't his prisoner. At least that's not how I've ever perceived it.
Could it just be that he got picked up for desertion, explained, hey, I'm not actually deserting, and the guy said, oh, well, then let me escort you back to the army?
Yeah, that also, I think that would actually probably make great sense.
Yeah, let's do that.
He is going to make sure that you get back to make sure that you aren't a deserter.
Fair enough.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So let's start the interaction over, if we could, please.
All right. In that case, I will introduce myself and introduce Travis and say this man's contingent. I'll tell the story. Was murdered while he was out on scouting, and I'm here to officially bring him back to see if he can help you guys.
Okay, perfect. Excellent.
I'll salute and then extend my hand and tell him my name's Joe. Not to the sergeant major. That is
right. Okay. He kind of looks a little confused that that you were introduced as Corporal Travis and then you introduced yourself as Joe. But you can see that this guy probably is not a super sharp cookie. So he kind of lets his confusion just kind of go to pasture. And just kind of nods and says, very well. Says, you appear to be out of uniform, Corporal.
Well, if I had one to be in, sir, I'd be in it. If you can point me to where I can rectify that situation, I'll take care of it post-haste.
Yeah, we'll get you situated all right and proper whenever we get to Mournful Valley. Says, what happened to your unit?
Sir, I'd like to speak to you about that privately, if we may.
All right. There's time for that. He kind of turns to the reclaimer and he says, I appreciate you for bringing the lost lamb here back into the fold.
No problem, Sergeant Major.
He says, is there something else we can help you with?
No, sir. If this is, if you don't need me, then I will be on my way.
That sounds just fine. He kind of spits again.
Was there a reward by any chance?
Is there a what?
Is there a reward by any chance?
A reward?
It's hard out here in the Caldera, you know.
He says, well, I don't know that I'm exactly at liberty to hand over a reward to a reclaimer. He says, but if you need it, he said, I can put my X down, any kind of paperwork you have, and I'm sure the Army of the Integrated Realms will see you rightly paid.
That'll do just fine. Thank you very much.
Sure, certainly. And yeah, if you do have any paperwork, again, the charge or what have you, yeah, he'll absolutely put his signature down on it. And it's pretty standard procedure. A lot of the people that you end up turning the people over to aren't the ones that actually, take care of your payment directly, at least.
Of course. All right, with that, I'm going to start heading back to the dining car where it's more comfortable.
All right. Padre is glaring at the soldiers shooting at the bison. Like I said, a lot of them are not exactly sober. So they don't really seem to necessarily put it together that's why you're giving them an evil glare. A few of them might, give themselves the sign of lose and, say a small prayer whenever you pass by.
We'll tell them, gentlemen, what do you think you were doing?
They kind of look to each other, and they kind of look to the sergeant major, and he kind of just gives them an eye roll and a nod of his head. And then one of them kind of pipes up. He's a younger guy. He's probably about 17 or so, and his uniform hardly has any dirt on it. He's like, well, we were just having some fun, Padre. We're just, target practice.
Shall I have you open your book of Luz, and we shall go over some of the chapters of what the Lord has said about the creatures of his earth?
He almost kind of starts to laugh, and he says, I don't have a book. He says, no, sir, I don't think that would be necessary.
Do you repent for the things you have done today?
He kind of looks to his other soldiers, kind of sheepishly and embarrassed, and he says, I suppose.
I expect this not to happen again.
Well, it was done on orders, sir.
The Lord's light is always shining down on you, and the Lord knows what is right and wrong, regardless of orders.
Could I have heard the I suppose?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I will definitely turn around at that point and say, I suppose is not a good repenting.
He says, well, sir, we ain't in church.
All of the land is the Church of Luz.
He kind of gets wide-eyed as this slightly wild-looking, Swiss Army prophet, if you will, kind of rains down this a little bit more brimstone and fire upon him.
You murder innocent creatures in this life, and you will suffer damnation in the next.
Yes, sir. I suppose I will.
Would you rather follow the commandments of a wicked man and be sentenced to his punishment, or disobey him and be promised everlasting virtue?
At this point, the sergeant major says, hold on a second there, fella. I think you're starting to cross a little bit of a line.
No, you crossed the line by ordering the murder of innocent creatures. You will be punished in the next life.
I'm gonna, as my shot rings out, I'm like, damn, that was close. Anybody got another round? I'm gonna put my hand out.
As Joe is shooting at the buffalo now?
Yeah, you see chat?
Yeah, unintentionally high, but you're shooting at him?
Yeah.
At about this time...
Did you shoot the window? Because I close all windows, just so you know.
Yeah, no, I'll open one and slide through.
I will say my prayer again, and that window will close.
Okay. At about this time, the window slams shut, and Brian, I guess Luke, you feel a hand on your shoulder.
Joe.
Joe, yeah. And Eagle Witness gently turns you around and just has this grave look on his face, and he's shaking his head. He's disappointed. He's not happy.
I'm gonna lean close, and as I'm kind of standing to hand the rifle back to whoever I swiped it from, I'm gonna just kind of pass along to Eagle Witness, not to worry. There's a plan.
And then he just turns and watches the army. He actually stands kind of far back in the doorframe because he doesn't really want to be in the same car with them.
Right.
But he's watching everything going on, and he's actually paying really close attention to all the Luzites standing up for these buffalo at this point.
Okay, excellent. All right, so yeah, the sergeant major has kind of swung his the holster that's on his hip a little bit further forward, and is kind of, making a show of the fact that the butt of his sidearm is kind of accessible. And he says, I think it's about time for Preacher Man and others to move along. And he spits again.
The prophets of Luz are welcome everywhere, except in the presence of sinners.
He says, well, maybe we're just all sinners then, because I don't think your welcome is lasting as long as you might otherwise think. It's worn a little thin.
the Padre will leave, but he'll part by quoting the Book of Luz. It's specifically chapter 7, verse 12. And man shall be the shepherd of Luz's flock. And he'll pointedly say that to the young soldier. Until the guy nods.
Perfect. Yeah, take a point of inspiration, Derek. Fantastic. All right. Is there any other particular interactions?
If the rest of our group has made it back to the dining car out of the military cart, I would like to detach it from the train, from underneath.
Okay. So this entire time, Mad Dog has been positioning himself underneath the place where they're bound together, and you're trying to get this all situated and whatnot. And you specifically wait until the last of your group has left the car. I'm assuming that everybody is eventually leaving the car.
And I may even give it like another 5 minutes after that.
Right.
Just whenever everybody's kind of calmed down and they go back to doing whatever they're doing and not paying attention.
Okay. So I see Alex is saying that Cutter has not left yet, and I don't know if Joe would have left yet or not.
Yeah, no, I'm not intending to stay with the military, but I am there now. I'm not headed back to the dining car.
Okay. About how long were the two of you planning on staying in the car?
Well, Brother Cutter was just going to say a little bit more about, damnation and all that, and then remind everyone that while he won't be there, Luz will always be watching them, and he'll see everything they do, and on orders or not, they are judged, and then he will leave. But he's kind of getting in the last word, and he's not going to let the other guy get any last words in. He's going to just say that while he walks backwards out of the cart.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, this guy is not a particularly bright bulb. So, you've spoken enough fancy words and gotten him on the defensive enough that, he lets you leave without having a last word for certain. So that just leaves Joe there. About how long did you say you were planning on staying, Joe?
Oh yeah, subject to at least to converse with the sergeant major. So.
Okay.
Probably after Mad Dog's event has taken place, I'll play catch up.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and work through that then. So you have pulled the sergeant major aside, and as we begin our conversation, we'll say that Mad Dog's surprise has started to take effect, and you kind of, as you're talking to the sergeant major, you'll look out the window and realize kind of what's happening. So we'll play through that. Perfect. Okay, so you kind of pull the sergeant major off to the side. And he says, "What can I do for you, Corporal?"
Ideally, if there's another train car or like a storage car or something like out of sight of the normal or of everyone else, ideally.
Sure. You know what? Just here's what we'll do. You guys actually move one train car forward. And so that actually puts you and the sergeant major separated from the rest of the soldiers. And that's when Mad Dog decides to pull his pin.
Got it.
So as you guys are talking, the corporal's got his back to where his men are, and you're facing the window, and you just kind of are watching the train car just slowly, put distance between the car that you're talking to him in and where the rest of his men are as they're drifting apart, and he has absolutely no clue while the conversation's taking place.
Yeah, so as we're conversing, I'm going to shift my position a little bit so that I'm not staring directly at it, where I should have known, so that when
Sure.
he notices, I can play dumb.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's not a problem at all.
And then I assume I'll need a deception roll of some kind or something, but I'm going to go into this story about, my unit was tracking, my unit was special, and we've been allowed to, or we've been gathered because of special talents. And, kind of pitch this grand story to him about, threat to the realm and so on and so forth with regards to the first line of defense to stop it, and kind of the I'm here in disguise under orders, blah blah blah, and I'll at some point to kind of back the story with regards to the special unit being gathered. I'll display for him, after I can get him to promise that, this doesn't leave the room kind of thing. I'll display magic to him. And, kind of positioned to be left to my own devices, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and give me a deception roll.
Yep. That will be a 17.
Okay. All right, so you spin him this yarn. And he seems to kind of be a little bit skeptical, but kind of wanting to believe it a little bit. And you can see some admiration begin to kind of setting on his face. And he says, "Well, that's pretty impressive." And then you show the magic, and he almost reaches for his gun whenever you do it. And he's, "Well, I'll be damned. Now you don't need to be doing any more of that witchcraft around me." He said, "I'd rather not see any of it." And now all of a sudden he's taken on a religious fervor, and he does the sign of lose across himself,
sure.
Kind of like he's warding off the bad vibes or whatever. And he said, "You just keep that to yourself, son."
Yeah, I apologize. I had to show you, since I can't portray since I can't give away who I actually am. I needed, I've been authorized to limitedly show what I can do, in the gravest of circumstances, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. He says, "All right, I'll buy it. I believe you." He says, "Very well, you can go on about your devices, but I highly recommend that you check in at some point soon, lest they think you are a deserter."
I'm going to actually, mention to him that the group I've been traveling with is, helping, and I can't expose my nature with them, because not even they are empowered to know as much as he does. And I'm going to ask him to check in on my behalf, and kind of pass along, and I'll hand him a note that, or I'll jot down a note and give him details about, extended assignment and blah, 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 just to kind of, again, make it look good. He's the only one that can be trusted with this, etc. Kind of play up he's not the brightest crayon on the box, and give him the
importance,
the pat on the back. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, give me a persuasion at advantage.
Okay.
Because you've already got this guy kind of duped and in your palm a little bit. We'll see if he will hand this paperwork off for you.
18.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So he absolutely takes charge of it, and he even gives you like a nice crisp salute. Tells you, it'll be done, soldier. He said, you keep up with the good work you're doing.
So I'll thank him profusely, and then I'm going to hand him a ball bearing, because I've got a bag of them.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell him, this is our sign. If you ever need me, or if you ever need one of us, simply cast this.
Okay. He kind of looks at it, and he reaches
careful, don't drop it.
He hasn't picked it up yet. He actually reaches into like the bell of his glove. You can see in the picture he's got kind of like these large,
yep.
And he pulls out like a dirty, soiled handkerchief, and he kind of uses that to pick up the ball bearing out of the palm of your hand, and kind of eyeballs it, and then kind of wraps it up deeply in the handkerchief and kind of stuffs it back into the top of his glove. He says, "All right, if you say so." And that's about the time that he looks and notices that the train car behind you has slowed to a crawl and has separated by probably about a quarter mile or so at this point.
Okay.
And his men are all out front, like waving their arms and trying to like get their guns ready to shoot in the air to draw attention. At which point they do. They start firing. That's probably what actually causes attention. He turns around. What a tarnation!
I'll echo the sentiment, and then I'll tell him, get to your men. I'll go for the front of the train.
He says, "All right." He opens the door and like goes to like almost just jump straight out of the car onto the railroad tracks, and then he looks down and realizes that he's going a little bit faster than he wants to be before he jumps. And he's like, well, he kind of turns and walks over to the side. He says, damn it! And he kind of jumps off of the tracks onto the side and kind of rolls and tumbles in the dirt.
Awesome.
I'm gonna pull out one of my 2 remaining cigars, and I'm gonna toss it to him with my thanks for your bravery.
Okay, fair enough.
And then I will, true to my word, head towards the front of the car and back to the rest of the party.
Now, I'm no mathematician or anything, but I'm pretty sure if he jumped out and rolled, the car would still be going fast enough that it's just going to zoom right past him, even though it's slowing down.
Yeah, at this point, though, it's a quarter mile out, so it'll take it a little bit of time to catch up.
He's not a math magician either.
That's true. But, absolutely, Mad Dog and Joe, both of you can have a point of inspiration for that. That was hilarious. And dealt with in a very unexpected way.
Yeah, I had to find a way to keep him with the group. It's fine. It worked out.
I have a question. Do I notice this at all?
It's possible. You wouldn't have probably stuck around for the exchange between Joe and the Sergeant Major, but I would expect that you probably at least noticed that the train cars are no longer attached and that the Sergeant Major takes a leap out of the train.
Okay, I'm going to cast thaumaturgy on myself, stick my head out and say, Lou smited you quicker than I thought!
At this point, he's just kind of
It just comes out like dog barks, apparently.
That's just Mad Dog.
Nah.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Sorry, guys. Hang on.
So I get back to the train car, or the dinner car, and I'm just going to try to find something to eat, because I'm hungry.
And just so I understand this, I guess the soldiers went a car further back than us, and we uncoupled their car, and now it's just coming to a halt.
Correct, yeah.
Yo,
God.
hilarious.
Yeah, they were 4th from the back. There were 3 cars behind their car.
Oh, okay.
So I was just like, screw it.
Perfect.
I hope there are no VIPs in the caboose.
Even if there were, Mad Dog wouldn't care about that. It's fine.
Okay. Apologies about the dogs. Hopefully they're going to pay attention, or behave themselves, rather. Okay, so, yeah, so you guys all reconvene. Those of you who want to actually get something to eat, you can do so. After a couple of minutes, there's a little bit of an uproar in the train as the conductor's running back and forth trying to figure out what happened. And
I will stop him and explain to him that they were murdering innocent animals and Lou smited them.
He kind of stops and kind of his eyes go wide and he kind of gives you a nod like, of course. Yes, I'm sure that's exactly what happened. And then goes about his business.
Dariel's job is done. He does not care anymore.
Fair enough.
I hope Mad Dog never tells us what he does, so I can always believe in my heart that Lou smited them.
Excellent. Okay, so is there any other things that you would like to take care of before you roll into Mournful Valley?
Dariel is going to need an explanation of why Joe is back, though.
As I sit down, I'm just gonna look him straight in the face and say, "Told you I wasn't a deserter."
All right. I did my duty and brought you back, so if you're along for the ride, more than happy.
I'll just tip my hat at him.
Excellent.
So what's this about, a mage right?
Whoa! Voice down.
Yeah, that's coming from the reclaimer.
Well, our card's still, or that card's still empty, isn't it? Because people left.
The dining car, it isn't at this point because this is the next day.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, if you guys had wanted to find a different place to go, or if you wanted a section of the cart cleared out, it would not have been hard to do.
Would people still been wary of us, like on this day?
The majority of the passengers, yes. Anybody that joined the train in Wayward Gallows, not necessarily, but anybody that's been on the train since Tall Shadow, absolutely would be.
So I would have liked if we'd gone into the room and half of the people stood up and left.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even the ones that don't know kind of how things went down at first, you guys are all armed and armored to the teeth.
Well, and the rumors would have spread.
That is also true. So yeah, so they at least give you half the card of yourselves.
And there's a Durathian with us.
That is also true.
Does Dario know what a mage right is?
Yeah, you would absolutely, as a reclaimer, you would know what a mage right is.
Then I would not have said that out loud.
Okay. Yeah, and if you as a player don't know, I can fill you in, but I'm assuming that you probably do.
I've pieced something together, but explanation would be nice.
Sure. So yeah, out of character, a mage right is a person that secretly and discreetly takes magic away from items that are found and can take basically the enchantment that's on an item, which destroys the old item, but they can then impart it into a new item. So they can take something from an old suit of armor and apply it to a hat, or something that was on a sword or a wand and apply it to a gun.
Then I definitely want to go see this.
Okay. As a reclaimer, you would know that this is highly illegal.
Of course.
And yeah, these people are usually notoriously difficult to find, and that this kind of work can be very prohibitive and expensive. But it happens quite a bit, even despite all of those loopholes, or all those hurdles, rather. So yeah, the rumor is that there is a dwarven mage right that works for the Arcane Acquisitions warehouse in Mournful Valley, and the dwarf's name is Ogden Kell, as the rumors go at least. And he is a one-armed dwarf. And the fact that if he is truly a mage right, the fact that he is living in the center of town and that he works for the railroad as an Arcane's acquisition agent is, I mean, it would basically be like finding out that there was a nun prostitute. It's kind of like, antithesis of one another almost.
Perfect.
So there you go, a dwarven nun prostitute. There's a message for all of you to take home. You're welcome.
Yes.
With one arm, so yeah.
There you go. Okay, so yeah, if there is nothing else that you guys want to take care of while you were on the train, then we will go ahead and get into the arrival at Mournful Valley.
Is there anyone famous on the train?
Not anymore.
The Angels of the Gallows.
Great, I'm going to interview... Oh, wait.
They very well might be a worthwhile interview. They've been in the paper a couple of times.
Great, I'm going to interview Mad Dog.
He can't be found.
Apparently he's still scarce. If I not found, what he's actually failing to tell you is that potted plant in the corner. That's actually him. You just can't tell.
Damn it. I'll interview the Padre then.
Okay. The Padre will inform Brother Cutter that the Padre is not actually technically an Angel of the Gallows. He joined them after they gained the moniker.
He writes that down, and then he frowns and crosses it out and says, "That's not a good story."
The truth is not always a good story, my son.
Cutter will frown and go interview some random other person.
Okay. Eventually, you find somebody to talk to who's willing to fill pages as you're willing to write them down. So yeah, you guys spend several more hours on the train, and eventually you roll into Mournful Valley. Some of you have been here before. I think just Eagle Witness and Mad Dog at this point. So yeah, you roll into town, and you depart the train. So what is the first on the docket?
I'll collect our horses.
Excellent.
Eagle Witness has been a little leery about being on the train since he didn't exactly pay for a ticket, and since we uncoupled those train cars, he is especially leery, so he's going to be getting off the train and making himself inconspicuous as quickly as possible.
I paid for your ticket, you know.
Well...
I guess I should have confirmed this. Our horses were not in the last 4 cars, right?
That's a really good point.
Roll for that one.
Yeah, we'll have to see here. I imagine that Mad Dog might have taken that. Well, actually, he got out of the car in a different way.
They're actually in the first car, so they're good.
It looks like you're all right. They were not left behind, apparently.
Sweet.
So yeah, as the people with the railroad busy themselves in trying to figure out what they're going to do about the abandoned cars in the middle of the uncivilized lands there, you all depart from the train and start making your way into the town proper. Several of you, if you would like, making yourself scarce. Yeah, so are you guys completely spreading out, finding places to stay while you're in town, that kind of thing? Or are you all going to, one location together?
How long were we planning on being here?
Not sure.
We haven't decided that yet. Daryl would like to find the saloon.
The Padre would like to find the church.
Okay. Yeah, both of those are very easy to find. Usually,
it's actually the same building. No.
I love the Old West.
They're probably actually not far from one another.
If they're the same building, then Mad Dog would like to find the nun prostitute.
You gave him a point of inspiration, like. It's fantastic. Okay, so. Yeah, they're not hard to find. They're both very clearly marked, distinct buildings. You can easily make your way there. That too. They're also easy to find, especially the one-armed ones. So yeah, the saloon is called the. It's actually called the Stick 'em Up. Stick 'em Up Saloon.
And who's going there?
Daryl, at the very least.
I'll accompany him.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So yeah, go ahead.
I'm going with them too. I randomly decided.
All right. Fair enough. So we've got Cutter, Daryl, and Eagle Witness that are going to the saloon.
Mad Dog we're going to.
And Mad Dog. Okay. And Luke. Are you back to Luke? Is that what I see? Or are you Joe?
I screwed up the overlays, so I'm back to Luke. So there's something there, but I'm working on it.
Oh, got it. Okay. So Joe, or whatever his name is currently, is going with them to the saloon as well, and then Estevez is going to the church.
I will let them know that as they all branch off towards the drinking place, and I will tell them I will find them later.
Okay, excellent. Is there anything specific that you're wanting to take care of at the church, or is it just checking in, seeing if you can get a place to stay, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and it's always just good to check in with the local clergy.
Absolutely. So yeah, you can absolutely do so with very little effort. There is an elven priestess who is overseeing the church here, and she will give you room and board while you're in town.
Do they have a place for our horses?
The church does not, but there is a stable in town where you can corral them.
Okay. And I will ask where the railroad offices are.
She says, well, the station's, back where you got down off the train. Is that probably the best place? Are you talking about the where you deal with railroad business, or where you would deal with acquisitions of magic stuff, or
acquisitions and ministerial?
So there's not a whole lot of administration that takes place here in Mournful, she said, but there is a big acquisitions warehouse down by the train yard. She said you can't miss it. It's the biggest building in town.
Thank you, sister.
She says, absolutely. Hope your stay here in Mournful Valley is a peaceful one.
As I leave to go find the others, I will put 18 gold in the collection.
She thanks you very much. She tells you go with Luz.
And with you.
Okay. Yeah, so...
Dogs.
Yeah, sorry. One of them, every time somebody passes by the street outside, he decides that he has to let them know not to come any closer. So, the rest of you have gone to the saloon, which I have already lost the name of. Stick 'em up.
Stick 'em up.
Stick 'em up. Writing it down. All right. So you go to the Stick 'em Up. This place is not the only tavern or the only saloon in town, but it's the more rowdy saloon. And you walk in, and as you're kind of walking up, somebody gets thrown through the saloon doors in the front, and he kind of tumbles across the porch, down the steps, and into the dirt, and kind of makes a big plume as he kind of lands face first in the dirt. And he doesn't immediately get up.
I'm going to kick him.
I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to see if he's okay.
I'm fine.
He's the man is breathing. He doesn't seem to be bleeding from any wounds or anything. But he also does look like he is so blistering drunk that he doesn't even really at first realize that he is face first down in the dirt.
Regardless, I'm going to help him up.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of help him up and lead him over toward the nearby horse trough, and maybe splash some water on him to get some of the dust out of his nose and his mouth, and out of his face in general. And he kind of thank you very much. It's injustice in this town. A bunch of hypocrites.
I'm going to ask him if he is injured.
My pride has been injured. This place doesn't understand the needs of a man.
I'm going to say, well, what exactly happened in there?
I just told you. There's a bunch of cowards and yellow bellies, Luzites, their proper ways, and he vomits all over the place.
What exactly is wrong with Luzites?
This is Luzites? What? Who are you?
I'm just a humble traveler who helped you up. Now answer my question.
What? There's a question? What was the answer?
I punch him in the face because I'm pretty sure he doesn't like Bluesites, and he annoyed me.
Yeah, he passes out. Just kind of doesn't even seem to really register anything that just happened. He's kind of leaning against the trough, unconscious.
Great. I go into the saloon.
Okay. So yeah, you're a couple steps behind everyone else. Everyone else has walked in. Like I said, it's a pretty rowdy place. There's girls up on stage with their petticoats hiked up, and they're doing, like the can, kick one direction and the other. There's pretty raucous music that's happening, piano player that's kind of going at it. There's cards and stuff being thrown around everywhere, and you hear the clink of coin that's being exchanged across these tables. It's very smoky in here. The bartender looks a little put out, but you can tell that it's probably just from being overworked. It is a dwarf, and he is just kind of going 90 to nothing, back and forth, filling glasses and getting them to people and putting them on trays that the saloon girls are then taking from table to table. He hadn't even had time to even look up to notice that you've come in. So yeah, it's up to you guys. What do you want to do?
Eagle Witness is actually going to look for somebody who looks like they're not engaged in conversation, but not trying to avoid it either. Like just somebody kind of unengaged,
Okay. Yeah, there's a man leaning on the counter on one of the. He's kind of sitting on a stool. Looks like he's probably maybe a half orc. And he's pretty big, and he's dressed in mostly leathers and furs. He looks like he's probably some kind of hunter or a trapper of some kind.
Okay, yeah. And then what is the average
The average what?
Like the population?
In the town or in the room?
In the town.
I would say in Mournful Valley, there's probably 200 to 300 people, maybe.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. Then I'm gonna walk up to this half-orc trapper guy, and I'm going to start the conversation off with something like, "Excuse me, have you heard of any good game in the area?"
He kind of looks sideways along the bar over to where you kind of come up next to him. And he says, yeah, there's a lot of deer in the area. Buffalo, up a little further north.
Perhaps not buffalo for much longer. I saw soldiers from the lands out east shooting them on a train ride here.
He shakes his head, and he says, damn poachers, trappers, and soldiers. There ain't going to be much left of the Caldera at all if they have their way.
It is true. Not much food is taken from these corpses, nor is any fur or bone or other tools, and they are not even given proper burial rites.
He says, well, I don't know about all that. He said, but they get their furs all right. He said, they got a group of Durathians, and he kind of, eyes you a little bit, decides that you must not be one of them. The group of Durathians that rides up, follows the train, and they come through what they shoot, and they skin all of them, bring the skins back. That's about all they take them. The rest just sits out in the sun and rots.
Do you know what tribe these Durathians are from?
Says no offense meant, he said, but one Durathian is about the same as another.
He kind of looks off into the just across the bar, not really at anything in particular, and he says, I am alone. And then he lets that hang for a couple seconds, and then continues, I am in search of a one-armed dwarf.
He kind of sits back a second and kind of pauses in his sipping of the drink he's working on, and he says, yeah, I think there's a one-armed dwarf over at the warehouse.
Will he be here? Will he be there now?
I said, I don't know, to tell you the truth. I don't have a whole lot of dealing with them. He said, but I imagine he's about someplace or another.
Well, thank you. May the eagle watch over all of your hunts. And then he just turns around and leaves.
Okay. He kind of grumbles something incoherent and then goes back to his drink. All right. Anybody else looking for particular interactions?
Yeah, if I see the guy that stumbled out and passed out drunk outside, I'm gonna step back out, rummage his pockets, go back inside, find a girl and see what she'll do for his coin purse for me.
All right. Let's see here. Okay. He apparently.
What are you doing here?
He apparently left.
Is she dressed as a nun?
No. Excuse me. He apparently had 11 gold pieces on him whenever he got tossed out. But that's about all of worth that he appeared to have on him. It looks like he had a holster, but his gun has been removed. You're not sure where that's at currently. So yeah. As far as finding someone who will work for the coin, that is certainly not difficult, especially if you start flashing it around. You can even get yourself a room if you'd like, as well as some company to show you to that room and get you settled in, if you will.
He just needs a coat closet.
Yes, no?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. This girl's name is Sue.
Well, Susie,
Mm-hmm.
let's get to work.
All right. Yeah, so you take your leave of the main room and head upstairs with old Sue. She's not old. But yeah, she takes good care of you. And you get a room for the evening as well. And we'll say that grand total comes out to 10 gold pieces. So you even end up making a profit.
Perfect. Just how Mad Dog likes it.
All right. Anybody else?
Are any of the dancers particularly pretty?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Excellent. I paint
now
them.
they're probably not some of the beauties from the more major towns, but for local girls at least, they're probably some of the more attractive ones here.
Great. I still paint them. I paint one of them. No, I paint all of them dancing together.
Absolutely, yeah. So you find yourself kind of a seat that's somewhere somewhat out of the ways, and you can set your stuff up and get to work. Excellent. Anyone else?
I'd just like to see if I can get the bartender any spare minutes to see if there's anything interesting going on in town lately.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, he seems to be pretty busy, but he'll slow down long enough to at least pour you a drink if you're buying one.
Oh, of course.
Okay. Yeah, and if you flash him a little bit of extra coin, he might kind of stay and linger and talk to you for a second or two.
How much is a drink normally?
What are you after?
Just some straight whiskey, please.
Okay. So, straight whiskey.
Not the bottom of the barrel stuff, though. But you don't have top shelf.
All right. He says, all right. He's a dwarf, so he's like, I like to see a man with taste. So if you're buying a shot, it costs you a silver piece for kind of the normal stuff. If you're looking for better stuff, it'll be 2.
All right, I'll give him 4 silver. 2 for the drink and 2 for the information.
Alrighty. Yeah, so like I said, he'll linger for a longer moment than it takes to actually pour the drink. And he says, interesting. He says, yeah, there's always something interesting going on in Mournful Valley. He said, what is it that interests a reclaimer like yourself, sir?
Well, being a reclaimer, just any rumors of some below the board, if you may. Maybe something not quite ordinary?
He kind of shakes his head like he's trying to follow what you're putting down.
Anything of, let's say, not of this world nature?
He says, "Are you talking about?" And he kind of leans in. "You talking about magic?"
Well, sure. Why not?
He says, I've heard there's some stuff like that goes on around here. There's always magic that comes into Mournful Valley. Of course, most of it gets put on the train and sent back east, mind you. So, but I'm sure there are things that fall through the cracks, and he kind of gives you a wink.
Anything that seems particularly dangerous?
Oh, no, sir. Nothing that would be dangerous. We're not looking to harm people here in Mournful Valley. He said, just, sometimes the system ain't too kind to us folk who are further down the ladder, if you know what I mean.
I can appreciate that, good sir. I sure can. Appreciate your time.
He says, you have a good one. And he pours you another shot.
Perfect.
All right, excellent. Anything else?
I would like to give my painting to one of the dancers.
Okay. Yeah, she's absolutely just beside herself with it. She loves it. She thinks that it's beautiful, and you have a lot of talent, she tells you. She tells you you should head east. See if you can't make a living doing this.
I said, I am making a living doing this. This is what I'm doing.
She says, oh, well, very good then. I hope you're happy, and seems like you know what you want out of life, and that's a nice thing to have.
I said, but I paint much better if you would come with me and let me paint you while you're not moving around so much.
She kind of looks at you and she says, now, if you're being coy, she said, we can certainly arrange that. She said, but that's definitely going to cost you more than a painting, she says with quite a bit of knowing.
He said, no, you misunderstand. I'm just going to paint you.
Well, darling, honestly, I don't care what it is that you do with the time that you purchase, she said, but my time does cost money. She says, paint me or spank me or do whatever you want to with me. She said, you still got to pay for it.
Excellent, that's fine. Just shut up and come with me.
She says, well, there ain't no reason to be rude about it. She kind of lifts her skirts and shows that she's got a derringer strapped to her inner thigh. She said, now, if we want to get real playful, we can. She said, but I don't think there's any reason for that.
Completely misunderstanding her, I say, real playful? That sounds perfect. Let's do that. Come on.
All right. So, that'll also cost you 10 gold pieces.
But I'm not buying a room.
You're not staying for the night?
Nope.
Okay. So you get the quick special. That's 2 gold pieces.
Excellent.
All right. So you borrow a room for a while and paint her, as well as whatever else.
I think you misunderstand. I'm literally painting her. I'm putting paint on her.
Oh, wonderful. So yeah, that's something she hasn't seen before. But yeah, like she said, whatever you pay for, it's your time. So, is there anything else anybody would like to take care of here in the Stick 'em Up?
At this point, the Padre will arrive.
Okay, absolutely.
After Padre arrives, I too will arrange a room and a show.
Okay. Yep, 10 gold pieces for the stay overnight as well as company.
What is the reaction to a man in the cloth walking in?
Actually, there's not really much of a response at all. There might be a couple people who kind of look over their shoulder and kind of maybe hunker down a little bit more, but as far as the establishment itself goes, the music keeps right on playing, the bartender keeps right on serving.
Okay, I will wander the room, offering to heal anyone as I come across them, and telling them about the good word of Luz until I make my way up to Eagle Witness, because he's pretty much the only companion I can still see in the room.
Okay. Yeah, as you walk around offering to heal people, you don't find a whole lot of people who are suffering from injuries. But there is one old cowhand. He's probably about 40 or 50. He questions you rather specifically about a rash that he's been having a hard time with, and wants to know if there's anything that you can do about that.
I will tell him that we must pray for Luz's guidance, and if he'll bow his head with me, we'll see what we can do.
He says, "All right, Father." He said, "Padre, I've been going to church for every week for about a month and a half now." He said, "But this rash sure is getting uncomfortable to deal with." He says, "But if praying with you will help me get rid of it," he said, "I surely will try it."
Okay, so I'll put my hand on his shoulder and pray out loud, and I will cast Cure Light Wounds.
Okay.
I don't remember how much that does. Hold on.
I don't think his shoulder's where the rash was.
By the way, Eagle Witness has already left. I'm not there anymore.
Oh, sorry.
So,
who? I don't know who I saw then.
Probably Daryl. I think he's still there.
Yeah,
Okay.
After I see you walking around and everything, I'm going to buy you a drink once you're done.
Okay, so hold on. This will cure... Wait, is this right? I guess it's just cure wounds. So it's a D8. Hold on.
I think cure wounds is 2d4 plus 2. Right? Or is it a d8 plus your... I think that might be a potion. That's what that is.
Yeah, cure wounds is a level 1. It's a 1d8 plus my spellcasting.
There you go.
Plus my extra things. So hold on. It heals 12.
Okay. So yeah, you cast your spell on this old cowhand, and he thanks you very much. He says, I kind of feel better already. He said, I'm not sure about the rash. He said, but I feel really great. He said, I feel better than I've felt in the last 10 years or so. He says, matter of fact, and he hops up and goes very quickly directly over to one of the other girls, slaps down 2 gold pieces, and goes with her back upstairs into one of the other rooms.
I will yell at them. That is the power of Luz.
Thank you, Father.
Remember, he is always watching.
I hope he sure does enjoy a show.
Kind of red-faced, the Padre will walk up to Daryl.
All right, and I've got Alex, who is casting with a ritual to detect disease. Is that an actual thing?
It is absolutely an actual thing. It's a ritual, I know. Technically, it also detects poison and disease, but I doubt she's poisoned.
Okay.
He's asking about the hypergonosyphilades.
Exactly. She does actually...
Poisoned.
Yeah, I was going to say, she actually does detect as being slightly poisoned, but you're guessing that's probably just the alcohol. And then as far as disease, there's probably almost as many quote-unquote colors of the wind as there is now on your canvas.
Excellent. Good thing I'm just painting.
So, unless there's anything else specific that you guys want to take care of while you're here.
I'm just going to buy the Padre a drink and thank him for the armor.
All right.
I will take a drink and nearly spit it back out.
Yeah, it's a pretty stout. And if it's whiskey, it very well might be from Caved Inn, which is, again, a dwarven brewery that's kind of back east.
Kind of sputtering then, I will say, thank you, brother. and we'll look around and say, where did the rest of our companions go?
I saw them walk out, but as for where they're going, I do not know. But I am more than welcome to go find some.
I'll tell them that I found out from the local priest where the acquisitions warehouse is. Shall we go inspect it?
Perfect. That sounds like a good idea.
Excellent.
And we'll say, after you, brother.
Well, you're the one who found out where it is.
Good point. So I will walk that way.
Okay. So yeah, you after your drink, Padre, you might kind of take a second to get your sea legs under you a bit, and then you guys head towards the door. I think it's just the two of you, Dariel and Padre, and you guys head towards the train yard. While you're still quite a ways out, you can easily see the building. Like I said, it's the biggest building in town. It's a pretty large warehouse, and unlike a lot of the rest of the buildings in here, this is built a lot more sturdy. It actually looks like it probably at some point before, back in the ancient Durathian days, it was actually a building that was, still left over from those days and was simply added onto and refortified, those kinds of things. But the entire first story is actually made out of laid stone, and it looks like it's probably dwarven worked. The stonework is pretty seamless and looks really good, really solid. And then the upper two stories of the building are wooden planked, but the windows are kept pretty small. It doesn't look like it would be too easy to actually climb up to them. And the roof has a pretty steep pitch to it. And then the front doors are, instead of being kind of like a walk-through singular door, these are two large double doors that are heavy wooden iron-bound doors that look like they probably have a large bar that can slam home behind them and be secured that way. The two doors currently are standing wide open, and there is like a little bit of a rail that leads through those double doors. It looks like they can move things back and forth via railroad this way. And you can see that one step inside these double doors, there's probably about 10 feet in between them or so. There's actually a portcullis, a big iron portcullis that is also in place, although it is currently raised open as well. And there are men and women moving all over the place, in and out of this building. There's crates and barrels and sacks of stuff all over.
Eagle Witness is not actually going to approach the railroad if the rest of the party does. He's going to find a place like if there's a hill or something, then he's gonna or like a raised platform on a nearby building. He'll just kind of take a perch there and keep an eye out for this one-eyed dwarf, but he's not actually going to approach the railroad.
Okay, yeah. There's a nearby building. Actually, if you want the water tower, you can probably easily get up, the little walkway that kind of is around the top part of that.
Yeah. Got a 22 on my athletics check.
Oh yeah, you have no problem scaling it at all.
Cool. All right. Then I'm gonna get up there and I'm just gonna keep an eye out for a one-armed dwarf.
Okay. So yeah. As far as the question of when Cutter finishes his painting, I would say that it's going to take you at least probably a couple of hours. I don't imagine that a painting like that would be too quick.
Well, he's actually painting her, so how quick is that?
Well, I guess it depends on how intimate you're wanting to get and how full you're wanting to get in your coverage.
Oh, God.
Oh, completely full, but it's just broad strokes.
Ah, okay.
I'm painting the night sky.
Just painting her one color.
No, I'm painting the night sky, so it's mostly just blues and blacks with little dots of light.
Okay. Yeah, so that'd probably take you about an hour, we'll say. Sounds pretty straightforward enough. Okay. So, so Eagle Witness has put himself into position where he can kind of keep a lookout. Dariel and Padre are kind of walking up to the outside of this building. Is there anything in particular that they're going to take care of before they get to the building, or?
The Padre will suggest that Dariel put down his face mask on his helmet, so he's just growly, lion-faced.
If you say so, I mean, I would assume I have some sway here, given my profession.
Well, you can still have that sway, but it is impressive what the magic of that helmet does.
All right. Then I will follow the suggestion.
Okay. All right. So, Eagle Witness, you can go ahead and roll me a perception roll.
Okay. So perception is gonna be 18.
Okay. It doesn't take much time at all. Probably about the time that Daryl and Padre are kind of rolling up where the first people are kind of working the furthest out away from the building are. And you do, in fact, spot a dwarf who you are fairly certain is the one that must have been described to you. And his name, again, is Ogden Kell.
You carefully count his arms, and you say, 1.
And you get
yep,
no
that's
higher.
him.
Yeah. So, let me see here. Trying to get to his picture so I can show you here.
And Daryl, Joe, and Padre are all going to the railroad? Who all's going to be there?
I think it's just Padre and Daryl currently.
Okay. Daryl.
There we go. All right. So, Ogden Kell is a dwarf, and you see that he has his right ear is pierced, and there is a pretty large crystal that hangs from it, and it glows with kind of a green light. And the most immediately noticeable feature is that he is in fact missing his left arm. The sleeve of his outer jacket is like pinned up really, really close to his shoulder, so it looks like the entirety of his arm is probably missing. However, his right arm that is missing has been replaced, it looks like, by an arm made out of pure magical energy that matches the color of the glow of his earring.
Cool. And about how far away is he from me?
Currently, I would say probably about 100 feet.
Cool. Yeah, then I'm just going to watch him and kind of track his movements. I'll keep an eye on Daryl and Padre too, and if they ever look up at me, I'll kind of motion off where he's at in case they can't see him. Okay.
Yeah, so you actually see him somewhat through the front doors of the place. He's kind of milling about inside, and he's definitely in charge. And again, missing the arm, it doesn't really even seem to slow him down. He's picking stuff up with it, and it seems to function as if it were a real hand and arm. He's directing people, bring that over there. You stop slacking and pick up those boxes. Bring them over here. Come on. And he's definitely, kind of keep everything in line here.
Cool.
But yeah, Daryl and Padre absolutely can be directed to him whenever Eagle points him out to them.
You said he's through the front door?
Mm-hmm.
So we would be able to see him walking up to the front door, like as we're walking up, correct?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I said, a lot of that's probably because of the glow of his arm and his earring, so he kind of stands out in a crowd. But yeah, as you're kind of getting closer to the building, there's people that are outside the building, kind of milling about here and there, in and out of the front doors. But you can see him through the front doors inside.
Cool.
When we get close, then I'll just continue walking through the front doors until someone stops me.
Okay. Yeah, a couple people kind of look up as you approach the building. They don't look like they're interested in necessarily stopping you. And you walk right on through the front doors.
So that looks like I can tell this guy's in charge and meets the description of who I've been looking for. I'll walk up to him and wait until he notices me.
Okay. Yeah, at the moment, he currently has a keg that he's lifting, you know, a big, huge barrel. It's probably about the size of his upper body, at least. And he kind of carries it over to a nearby crate, sets it down, rights it, and kind of, you know, repositions it to make sure it's balanced properly, and then pats it on the side, and he turns around and notices you standing there, and he says, well, howdy. He says, what can I do you for?
I'll say, hello, my son. I believe I am looking for you. I have some business I'd like to discuss.
He says, I ain't been called somebody's son in a long time, especially a human.
We are all sons of Luz.
He kind of nods, almost like, oh, I should have guessed. He says, yep, I suppose so.
Do you have an office that we can go talk in?
Yeah, I've got one. Right this way. And he kind of turns and motions with his ghostly hand off to the corner. And you can see it's kind of one of those things where it's a like an interior room inside of this larger area, and it's kind of 3 stories up. So there's like an interior staircase that kind of leads up to it. It's kind of built in the corner of the warehouse. Kind of has big windows that overlook over the rest of the workspace, so he can kind of keep an eye on things from up there. So you mount the steps, heading up that direction, and before too long, he kind of stops a couple of the times as you're making your ascent and kind of yells down to somebody, no, I told you 100 times, do not put those things over on that side. They all need to go on the other side. If it gets wet, it's your fault, and it's coming out of your paycheck. Stuff like that. He keeps going on up to the office. And once you're inside, he kind of makes his way over to a desk that is an absolute wreck. There are papers everywhere, things stacked, as tall as he is. It definitely doesn't look like he spends a whole lot of time here. But yeah, he offers for you to shut the door behind you, and then kind of goes behind his desk and kind of brushes the dust off of the seat, his own chair, and then kind of sits into it. Says, all right, here we are.
I'll say, a companion of mine had a vision of you, and we have sought you out.
Is that right?
It is. Am I correct that you are in charge of acquisitions for the railroad?
He says, for the acquisition management here in Mournful Valley, yeah, that's me.
I have something I'd like to show you, and I will reach in and hand him one of these shards of stained glass that I have, and ask him, what can you tell me about this?
He kind of takes it, kind of turns it over in his hands, holds it up to the lamplight in the room. Says, oh, it looks like a piece of stained glass. Stain's broken.
Is that all you can tell of it?
He kind of turns it over in his hands and kind of looks at you again, kind of a curious expression. Kind of turns his attention back to it. Is there something else I ought to be telling about this?
Perhaps you should throw it against that wall.
And he kind of nods his chin once or twice. And he takes the shard of glass. All right, suit yourself. Kind of winds up with his ghostly hand, and flings it across the room. And the red piece of glass does its little thing, and it activates into a little magical arcane bolt, shoots across the room, and kind of puts a decent-sized scorch mark in the wall. And he almost falls out of his chair. He says, "The hell did you bring me, preacher?"
Well, I thought you were in charge of...
He very quickly goes over to his windows that overlook the warehouse and shuts them.
Are you surprised at this action?
A little bit. Said I didn't know it was supposed to be magical.
I thought you were well versed in the magics of the ancients in the Caldera.
Yeah, typically. But when somebody hands me a rock, I don't necessarily question if it's magical.
And I'll turn to Dariel and say, perhaps he's not who we are looking for.
Says, is there a point to all of this? It feels like there's something that you're not saying that ought to be said.
What else do you do?
He kind of raises an eyebrow. And he says, I don't know exactly what you're playing at, preacher, he said, but I have a very specific job here. I abide by the law. He said, if you're willing to turn these things over, and that's what you're willing to do, is sell it to the railroad so we can ship it back east, he said, we can talk business.
I obey the laws as well, my son, but the laws of Luz. Do you perform any other service then for the railroad?
He kind of takes a deep breath, kind of looks between you and Dariel, and he extends his hand towards Dariel and he says, I don't think you've said much, sir.
Well, I am a man of few words, but I have heard rumors that things might not be so above board here. And I flash whatever badge or whatever I have as a reclaimer.
Mm-hmm. He definitely takes an interested look in that and says, "Yep." He said, "That's kind of what I figured." He says, "So you're a reclaimer, and I'm guessing there might be some kind of rumor that you heard. That's what sent you my way. You're looking to try to see if the rumors are true."
Well, if there are rumors, from what I've heard, we might be actually able to use your services.
I will pipe in and say, for the services of Luz, of course.
Hey, I have a dirty plan.
Okay, what you got?
I can't hear this conversation, obviously, but I know it's been going on for a little while.
Sure.
And Eagle Witness has been a little nervous about this. So I think what I would like to do, and I'm not totally sure I can do this, is cast message, where I point toward a creature within range and whisper a message, right?
I think so.
And it's within 120 feet, so I've got enough space, I think, to reach to the conversation. I'd like to whisper something to Ogden, and if possible, I'd like to make use of my actor feat where I can mimic people and animals, and I'd like to try and guess what Ogden Kell's voice sounds like and send him a message that will be perceived as him like having his own thought, like hearing a thought in his mind.
Interesting. Okay. Well, you haven't heard him speak. Well, no, that's not true. You have. Okay. So give me either a performance or a deception.
Remember, Eagle, you have advantage because you're trying to be somebody else.
Right. It'll be performance.
Okay.
So, here we go. Oh, wait. First one was a 9, second one was an 18, so that's a total of 23 on that performance check.
Okay. Yeah, considering the fact that he rolled a 3.
Great.
So, yeah. And what is the thought that you're trying to plant in his head again?
Maybe they'll do good things with my gifts.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, this was probably, whenever he was shutting one of the exterior windows to the office, or yeah, actually he may not even bother to shut those. He figures you're probably high enough off the ground, and it's not a problem. So yeah, as it passes by the window, you're able to kind of hit him with that message.
Would Eagle Witness have seen the red light?
I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's probably what tipped me off in the first place that the conversation was going on.
Sure. Yeah, kind of where they were in the building and whatnot. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So yeah, he's looking at the reclaimer badge, and he's looking like he's not too happy about being in the presence of a reclaimer. And you see him kind of stop for a second, he kind of nods to himself, and he says, maybe. So I'm assuming that since there's a reclaimer knocking on my door, that it's got to be these rumors that are persisting about me. I figured it sooner rather than later they'd be catching up to me. He says, and if I'm understanding this correctly, he says, while you might be a reclaimer, you're looking to try to take advantage of this rumor?
Not advantage, no, sir. Strictly speaking, I am on no mission from back home about rumors from here.
I see. So you're not looking to make an arrest?
Certainly no.
We are simply men of Luz looking to do Luz's work here in the Caldera.
And make sure that certain artifacts don't fall into the wrong hands. If strictly speaking, we're on the same side.
I see. He says, well, the two of you are certainly wandering around with enough magical gear that I would imagine that you're either stupid or you've got something worked out where you have enough people convinced that you've got permission that they leave you alone.
Well, I am a reclaimer.
I am protected by Luz's light.
Well, tell other people that as you may. He said, I can see the truth of things more than you might think. He says, so, if I'm understanding this situation correctly, you're needing some work done that's a little this side of the law.
That would be correct.
In the laws of Luz, it is all right.
All right, yeah, I hear you. So, you got the money to pay for this?
To be honest with you, my son, I do not know what your services command.
Oh boy. All right. He said, well, I'm going to need to know specifically what it is you're after, what you're asking. He said, but I can promise you, he said, it's not cheap work. Costs quite a bit to keep this kind of stuff below the attention of those kinds that want this kind of stuff stopped. He said, and I don't think that I need to tell you that anything that happens here, anything that's discussed here, is done so with the utmost discretion.
Of course, my son. If anyone asks, I am here to turn over one of these, and I will hand him another stained glass shard.
He says, "That's fair enough." And he kind of sets it on the corner of his desk. He says, "All right. So this is just the two of you here?"
We have other companions that I believe would like to partake in your services. Is there a better time to meet with you to discuss terms?
Yeah, that's for certain. The broad of daylight is probably not the best to conduct this kind of business. Said, you can meet me back here in the train yard at, we'll call it the stroke of midnight, when the church rings its bells. He said, there's a small stone building, said, out back. Said, it looks like it's just a little storage building. He said, you meet me at the door of that at midnight.
Thank you, my son. And I will turn to leave.
Thank you very much.
He kind of grabs you by the wrist, and he kind of waits till you turn around and he meets your eyes, and he said, I do hope that this stays very quiet.
Very quiet.
As quiet as the mice in the church.
At this, he laughs, like a very booming, roarous laughter. Says, yeah. Said, I figured you might say something like that, preacher. Said, that's good to know. I'll take you at your word. And he kind of lets you go. He kind of follows you to the door, and as you're descending the staircase, leaving the office, he kind of speaks up loudly. He says, yeah, we can definitely get that acquisition taken care of. So you just bring it back whenever you get it all boxed up. We'll take care of the paperwork and get it shipped back east. Very much kind of, making it look like the conversation was about something else.
I will yell back, thank you, my son. I will let you know if we come across any other thing that the East shall have.
I appreciate it.
On our way out, I want to use my divine sense and see if there's anything consecrated or desecrated within the warehouse.
Yeah, I would say so. Most of it seems like it's, boxed up or put into barrels and things. But yeah, I would say you probably find a little bit of both. Probably not overwhelmingly so, but definitely traces of both.
Very cool.
Okay. Yeah, you guys have several hours to kill. To do whatever it is that you want to get up to. Finish up business that you may already be involved in, or get up to no good, whatever you see fit.
This is going to go down. Sorry?
Go ahead.
Eagle Witness is going to climb down from the water tower and get the lowdown from Dariel and Padre, but otherwise he doesn't have any plans this afternoon.
Okay, perfect. We are at 2 o'clock, so that's about the halfway point. So we will go ahead and pause here and take a 10-minute. So smoke them if you got them, go to the bathroom, etc. And we'll start back up after that.
Rock on. Yeah.
All right, we're almost all entirely back here, but just for anybody who's wondering what's going on as far as viewership, we're just kind of taking care of some business in chat here, answering some questions, and kind of seeing what we can discuss before we get back to business here. So hang tight. We got about 2 minutes left. All right, well, it looks like we have everybody back. So we will go ahead and get back into it. All right. So was there anything at all that you guys wanted to take care of for the remainder of the day before midnight gets there?
I would like to head back to the church and find out if they have any holy water.
Okay. Yeah, they absolutely do.
Then I will ask permission to refill my canteen.
Ah, okay. Yeah, let me see. They will ask for, well, you know what? You've actually made a pretty sizable donation already. Let me see how much it usually costs. Don't know exactly how big that canteen is, but it's pretty sizable.
I think it held like 7 vials of holy water.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, if it has that description in it, that's perfect.
Well, I don't think it has a description. It just, when I poured it all out into vials, I think I got 7, but it's been a couple sessions.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, they are typically 25 gold pieces per flask. Because of the donation that you gave to the church, I am okay, and because you're kind of buying in bulk, I'm cool with it being 15 gold pieces per flask. So if there are 7, that would be 105 gold pieces.
Is there any way my background gets me even more of a discount or for free because I'm a man of the faith doing Luz's work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely isn't going to be as cheap as for free. But okay. You can roll a persuasion, and you can have advantage on it. And we'll see where that gets you.
Okay. 17.
Okay. Yeah, they're willing to knock it down to about 75 gold pieces if you're willing to pay that much to fill it completely.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
75?
Excellent. Yeah, 75 gold. And of course, that's not a cost, that's a donation.
Of course.
Yeah. So, is there anything else anybody wants to take care of before midnight rolls around?
I'm good.
Okay, excellent.
I have a question. Does my monocle of remote viewing allow me to hear things or just see?
I don't think so, but let me double check it. It's the monocle.
Yeah.
Monocular of Calibaloo the Finch. Let's see here. It functions as a normal spyglass. In addition, it may be activated and placed in an open position where it will allow its owner to see as it's still looking through it. An alarm spell may also be activated within the spyglass's field of vision. So no, it is purely visual.
Okay, that's fine. I have to come up with a plan really quick.
Daryl would like to see exactly what we plan to do with the mage right, what type of stuff we have, and just kind of get the lay of the land as to what we're doing.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea at all. You guys have plenty of time to kind of talk amongst yourselves and come up with a game plan if you feel you need one.
Well, Eagle Witness is going to say that there are 3 things he wants to do. And perhaps I will not do all of them, but I want to do most of them. I will enchant the coup from killing my many enemies, and I will put magic in merely a trophy of glory, but also of power.
All right.
The Padre will take out Telmedin and the Holy Ghost and will say, I would like to imbue the Holy Ghost with the fire of this weapon, pointing to Telmedin.
Okay.
Anybody else have any plans?
Okay, I would like to cast illusionary script and attach a paper to Seshat, and then cast Animal Messenger and send it over to the one-armed dwarf.
Okay.
The
Is that
paper
anything specific?
Yeah, the paper will say that this is an illusionary script and that the owl wants to talk to it in private. And then
Okay.
If he goes somewhere private, the owl will then say that he wants to borrow, and not in a euphemism sense, but in a literal sense, borrow some scrolls from him that he will return. And he said, the owl will then say, there will be unfortunate consequences if I can't borrow any scrolls, but not to worry about that because you probably won't live to see them.
Okay. So yeah, the owl returns to you. It still has the piece of paper that had the illusory script written upon it. It now has a non-illusory script written upon it. It says, don't make promises that you can't back up. Written in a very poor handwriting. See you at midnight.
Well, the guy didn't know it was from someone from our group, did it? Did he?
I have no idea how he could possibly know that.
Well, the first group to ever discover him just rolled into town. Now he's got a couple of different things going. Like, it's not a huge leap.
It's a pretty big leap to assume we're the first people to ever discover him, because if we are, where did the rumors come from?
All right. So midnight rolls around.
What?
I'm assuming you kind of guys major. Is there more that you wanted to take care of?
Yeah, I'm going to reply.
Okay. What you got this time?
Now the illusionary script says, you misunderstand. That's not a threat at all. You'll just probably die because of unforeseen consequences.
Okay. Yeah, the owl returns once again. This time there is no paper attached to it at all.
All right, I dismiss the owl. It goes away.
Okay.
Dariel would like to see if there's any way he can, just chatting with everyone else, see if he can get in on some of the magic that we're going to have and maybe get an enchanted pistol or something of the sort. Since I'll be traveling with you guys.
I'll remind him that there is a wand of magic, I don't know what it's called, a wand of magic missile in the bag of holding. Perhaps you can get the mage right to transfer its power to your pistol.
That could be interesting. I could go for that.
Okay. Yeah, if nobody has any other objections, then Dariel inherits the wand of magic missiles that was strapped to a shotgun stock.
While he's considering the shotgun magic missile, Eagle Witness, he kind of like reaches into a hip bag that he has and he pulls out this dream catcher and he holds it up and says, "This was something we took from the very first person that we brought to justice together as a group. If you will hold it up to someone's head and say the magic words, it will steal all of their memories. And if you want it, it is yours."
Well, I don't know. Not sure how I would use that. But that is certainly an interesting. I'll keep that in mind. But if that was from the first guy that you guys ever took down, that's probably got some value for you.
Yes, perhaps you are right. And so he puts it back into his bag.
Has there been any discussion after new characters arrived with regards to what the overarching quest is? Take the shield, etc.?
I haven't really heard too much. I know some of what taking the shield to someone, but that's all I know.
The Padre's not going to take the shield to the guy. Mad Dog wants to, I believe. But.
Well, yeah, so out of character, one of my thoughts was we can have the magic transferred off of it and then deliver him a mundane shield that he can't do anything with.
Oh, it's still technically the shield.
Right, but I don't know that my character has, like, if we haven't had conversations about what we're doing, that may not be a valid in character.
I would say on the train, the Padre filled in the new people of what they had done recently.
Yeah, and you guys would also realize that from what you have been told and whatnot, that the process of exchanging, removing the enchantment from an item also destroys the item.
Oh, okay. Well, we never got it. It was gone.
What was gone? What are you talking about?
Exactly.
I think he was saying you could always claim that you never found the shield. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. We never found that. The shield of Saint Samard.
What does the shield do again?
Excuse me. Let's see. The shield of Saint Samard. This shield must be attuned to. It is a shield +1, which grants a total of +3 to the wielder's AC. At the end of a long rest, the attuned wielder of this shield may choose one type of damage. Attacks that use this damage type are at disadvantage until the wielder chooses a new type. In addition, it grants the wielder access to 2 spells per long rest, which they may cast each one time: Cure Wounds and Shield of Faith.
And Dariel, you use a shield, don't you?
I do have a shield.
So does the Padre, actually. and I'm trying to be a turtle, so I would like that.
Yeah, as far as I know, nobody has actually claimed it yet.
Is there a limit to how many items we can attune to? 3? Is that the normal?
I believe that is the normal, but not all of the items in this setting require attunement.
Right. Does my bandolier, the one that I can smite with, require attunement?
No, it does not.
Cool, so I have one open.
Your plate is attunement though.
Yeah, I believe both the plate and the helmet are.
I think that is correct, but I'm going to check. The main...
I could be Saint Primord reincarnate.
The helmet does not require attunement.
Oh, okay.
The plate mail does.
Okay. So I have 2.
Out of character, if we can discuss this to figure out who would try to get that, I would give you Telmedin if you wanted more firepower, because I'm trying to concentrate on like being the shield for the party, so like always putting myself in danger, and so I would like higher AC if possible.
I have no idea what Telmedin is, but I was going for the same thing because I have the protection fighting style, and although my AC is already 21, so I'm pretty fucking bamf on that.
Yeah, mine's just 19, so you know what, I'm so vulnerable.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, so if you are both after it, what we will do is we will have a roll-off. Both of you roll a d20, and it will go to the higher of the 2 rolls.
Okay.
Well, I'd be willing to trade if whatever what's Telmedin? I don't
Okay.
Yeah. Jeremy has a better description.
Yeah. Telmedin is... I guess I can get the picture up as well if need be, if interested.
Sure.
So the stock of this gun was certainly built as a shotgun. However, someone at some point modified it into a heavy-duty steel cannon-like barrel in the front. The metal is warm to the touch, and smoke gently pours out of the weapon's end. What look like dwarven runes adorn the metal of this gun with what must be a name. And working on the picture as well here. My computer will catch up. Come on. Twice per short rest, this gun can be fired and functions just like burning hands. So twice, not 3. Cast at first level, but with a cone double the normal size. In addition, once per long rest, this gun can be shot and functions just like a fireball spell cast at 3rd level.
At 3rd? Nice. Okay.
Okay, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I'd be willing to trade for that. I mean, not that I have ownership of the shield anyway, but...
Okay, well, I'll give that to you if we can't do the shield thing then. If I can't attune it to, or I guess I don't even need to change it. I just use that shield. So I can just give you Telmedin, and maybe I don't need anything.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so Dariel is ending up with Telmedin, if I'm understanding this correct. And the shield is ending up in the possession of Padre Estevez?
Yeah. Can I... Okay, actually, I would want to change it, because I'd want to put it on my armor. Then.
Okay, so you're going to want to try to take the stuff off of it and apply it to your armor?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So you wanted to destroy the shield? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
It will destroy the shield doing that.
I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Are there any other stats
not
for...
okay with that, but...
Sorry.
So, go ahead, Mad Dog.
I was just saying that I would not be okay with that, personally.
Okay.
But I'm also not there, so...
Well, again, you guys are putting the plan together before you go and see the Mage Rite, so all of you can and discuss amongst yourselves what the plan is.
Yeah, I won't keep that secret from Mad Dog. I will let Mad Dog know that so we can hash out differences.
Like, I'm fine with you using it as the shield, but I mean, we're on a job that we've agreed upon. So.
I mean, the Padre's adamant. He's not going to give that back to the guy who he believes to be a werewolf.
So because of his race, you're not going to give him what we agreed upon?
You know what? The church is often quite racist, so because of that.
Wow, nice.
Damn.
Okay. So the question of the shield is still up in the air. Then we'll take it at that.
And what are the other stats for Telmedin, like the hit and damage and all that? I don't know what.
Yeah, I'm gonna put all that up. Let's see. So a shotgun. The way I handle shotguns is a little different than I've seen usually. Definitely is different than the book. So if with 5th edition, the way the ranges are listed is you have your normal range and then you have a maximum range. But a shotgun doesn't apply to that. It's just 60 foot. So every time you fire it, it makes a 60-foot cone.
Okay.
And each 20 feet, it drops a die from its damage. It starts out at a 3d6 plus dexterity at the closest range increment, so up to 20 feet away from you.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense?
Yeah.
And then the way that it works is whenever you make an attack with it, that sets the DC that they have to roll a dexterity saving throw against.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Very cool.
All right. So is there any other business that you guys want to take care of before we go and see him? Have we been paid? Have you been paid for what? For the shield? No. I believe you had a portion of it paid.
Yeah, we talked him into a portion up front.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything else to take care of before going on.
Okay. All right. So, as long as everything else is taken care of and you guys, have a little bit of an idea what you're getting into with the shield withstanding, we will go ahead and roll forward to when midnight is being tolled out by the church bell, and you are headed towards the train yard. It's a pretty clear night. The stars are out. The moon is a new moon, so there's no moonlight. And it's kind of a brisk evening for this late in the year, but it's enough to make it kind of comfortable out. And you're kind of slowly making your way out. There's still people that are kind of milling about here and there in singles or in pairs, people coming from the saloon or what have you, but for the most part the streets are pretty empty. So you make your way kind of discreetly down to the train yard, and as you do so, you spot the building that Ogden was telling you about earlier in the day, or telling some of your party members about earlier in the day. And it's probably about the size of an outhouse. It's pretty small. And it's made almost entirely out of stone. And you approach it. It's got a door on one side of it. It looks like a pretty nondescript little building.
How trapworthy does this feel?
Roll insight.
I rolled a 20.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if a trap was the aim, this would absolutely be a prime way to lay one out. That's for certain.
Okay. I'm gonna voice that and then scout the perimeter.
Okay. You're gonna kind of break off from the main group and kind of go hunting?
Yeah. As soon as it starts to look or feel fishy, I'll break off and.
And Eagle Witness is kind of a scavenger, so he deals with these sorts of people often, finding magic items and then bringing them back and selling them and that sort of thing. So
okay, sure.
if Mad Dog, or if Joe mentions, like, oh, well, I think this could be going down, Eagle will treat that with absolute seriousness, and he'll probably either split up or go along with him, whichever you think is better.
Yeah, I'm good either way. And then Jeremy, I do want to look through my bird's eyes a few times periodically, as well, just to get different, have him circling, so I'm getting different vantages.
Sure. Yeah. So as he's circling about, and you're kind of using his vision, if you will, and you and Eagle Witness are kind of breaking from the main group to kind of see if you can't outflank any possible flankers. Your bird doesn't see anything out of the ordinary, and he's got a pretty good lay of the land. Like I said, there's plenty of starlight, so there's not a whole lot of places that would be easy to hide because there's no direct moonlight. Therefore, the shadows are not very deep. So it looks fairly on the up and up. And likewise, whenever Joe and Eagle Witness start kind of skirting the immediate area of the train yard, none of you see anything that looks out of place. You don't see anybody hiding. You don't see anybody skulking about. It looks to be pretty abandoned.
Okay, yeah, then I think I would, after that, I'd kind of, put my weapons away and be cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
I'll have the bird either find a perch some spot or continue to kind of fly around, whichever it is more convenient / better vantage, and then I'll casually make my way in as well.
All right. Okay, so who is approaching the building?
The Padre.
Yeah,
I'll be there as well, yeah.
Yeah, I will be, but delayed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably best if the Padre and I go in front so that he sees if the Madrate is looking out, he sees that we're leading the tribe.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in the back. I guess not behind anyone who's delayed or in front of anyone who's delayed, but yeah, generally I want to be in the back of the group.
Okay. All right. So, Padre approaches the doorway and you give it a knock.
Actually, I'm going to cast Thaumaturgy and see if it just opens.
It does not.
Okay, then I will knock.
Okay. Yeah, you knock on the door, and after a second, you think you hear footsteps approaching, which would be really strange because this building would take maybe 2 footsteps to cross the interior of. And you hear is that you, preacher?
It is I, my son.
You got your people with you?
I look around and... Wait, sorry, was someone not there yet?
I think everybody is.
Okay. I will say, yes, we are all here.
All right. He says, everybody step in front of the doorway.
I will do as told.
Yep.
Okay.
But off to the side or behind someone bigger than me?
Well, he definitely waits until all of you are in front of the doorway, whether you're behind someone or not. And a small stone of the building that's right above the doorway, almost like where the keystone would be to form the doorway. You kind of notice it starts to kind of glow, kind of a magenta color, almost like it's being superheated with fire, but it's magenta instead of that kind of orange-white glow that heated metal gets. And then there's like a kind of a single pulse that kind of shoots out away from it, and it washes over all of you. And he says, "All right, one question. Do any of you wish me harm?" So what just happened is a zone of truth just went out, which means that not a single one of your characters can lie. You were all caught within it.
I will say, not if you wish no harm to Luz's children.
Fair enough, that's one.
No, sir.
That's two.
Not at all.
And there's three.
I wish only to give my coup powers.
That's good enough for four.
I don't even know who you are.
I like that answer, Halfling. That's five.
I just want to take notes.
We'll have to see about that. He says, but I suppose that's good enough for six. He says, all right. And there's a loud click on the other side of the door, and the door swings open. And Ogden is standing on the other side of it. And the room looks to be probably about 3 times as big as it looks from the outside. And it's kind of a simple, almost looks like a tool shed kind of area. It's got a dirt floor. There's stuff lining the walls. It's kind of got a single oil lamp that's kind of hanging from the middle of the room. And he kind of opens the door and stands wide and ushers you inside as he's kind of peering out past you into the dark.
I'll definitely follow everyone inside.
Okay.
Interesting.
True to my word, I take notes.
Okay. Yeah, he's going to tell you, he says, now, any of those notes get seen by prying eyes outside of your group, he said, there may be trouble. He said, I don't want trouble. He said, the business that takes place here is strictly secret.
I say, don't worry. If anyone seems like they're going to take my notes, I'll burn them.
He says, all right, I hope so.
The notes of the people.
I think we know the answer to that question.
Yep. All right, I am trying to type out the stats for the shield for you here, Derek, as well, while I'm kind of going through this. All right, so all of you enters the room. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yep. All right. Once the last of you enters the room, he shuts the door behind you, and you see, strangely enough, that the back side of this door does not look like the outside of it. The inside of this door is made out of metal, even though the outside of it looked like it was just an ordinary plank wooden door. So he shuts it, and he slams 2 bars home that are probably about 2 inches in diameter. And then actually traces his ghostly hand over some runes that are like kind of stamped into the metal. There's about 4 different ones kind of in a vertical line. He traces his fingers over each one of them, and as he does so, that magenta energy kind of fills in the runes behind his finger as he traces it. And then when he's finished, all 4 of the runes are lit with this magenta energy. And he says, all right. Says, now it's time to get to business. And he turns around and walks over to one of the things that's hanging on the wall. And it looks like just kind of a large hammer. It's probably used for, driving railroad spikes down, that kind of thing. A big mallet. And he kind of picks it up, takes it off of the rack, and spins the head of it 180 degrees around, and then puts it back in place. And when he does so, you hear another click, and the floor that you're all standing on begins to lower down into the ground.
I got so many fancy gadgets.
Okay, so as you start to lower down, you can see that the floor of this is all on chains. It's a pretty large kind of set of chains and gears and things like that. As this thing kind of, clung, 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 and kind of slowly lowers down. Any of you who happen to pay enough attention can notice that the dirt that's on the floor actually appears to be illusory. It doesn't seem to actually get anywhere whenever you kick it. It doesn't seem to fall off the edges. It seems like it's there just strictly for visual, trickery, if you will. So yeah, it lowers down. For some ways, you would guess you're probably about 3-4 stories underground by the time that it actually comes to a stop. And all of this has been carved pretty much straight down into the bedrock. And it looks like the construction, other than this elevator, the construction of this shaft was probably pretty old. You're guessing probably was a part of the original warehouse or something, whatever the complex that used to be standing where the warehouse is now. And it kind of lowers down and then comes to a stop with kind of a somewhat abrupt little... And he says, "All right, this way." And he begins walking down a small tunnel that kind of comes off of the space that this elevator has come to a rest in. It's completely dark down here. And as he starts down this tunnel, lanterns that line both sides of the hallway, as he passes each set of them, they come to light with kind of a similar light to his earring and ghostly hand, kind of that pale greenish glow. And he kind of, walks a ways down there and kind of looks over his shoulder and says, "Come on, not a time to be shy."
Definitely following then.
This is quite a little setup you got here. I like it.
He says, "Yeah."
And when I say that,
can't tell anybody about it.
I want to. When I said that, I also want to ask him in Thieves' Camp if he knows Thieves' Camp.
So yeah, whatever question it is that you ask him, he replies a mundane answer, and kind of looks at you funny, like, "Why would you ask such a strange question?" So your guess is he either doesn't know it or he's playing that he doesn't know it. He absolutely does not reply in Thieves' Camp.
Okay.
Moving forward, when I talk to him, though, I will talk to him in Dwarvish.
Okay. Yeah, he seems pretty impressed that you know Dwarven.
Can I roll to see if I believe him?
Believe him as to what?
Saying that he doesn't know Thieves' Camp.
Do you know Thieves' Camp?
I do. I've got 1 level of rogue.
Nice. Okay, then yeah, you absolutely can roll an insight, I guess is what it would be.
Yep. I got 21.
Okay. No, you don't think that he's lying. It doesn't seem like he doesn't seem to, be trying to mislead you in any way. It honestly doesn't seem like he understood what was said. I just typed disadventure instead of disadvantage. Okay. So, after leading you down a corridor, it feels like it's probably leading back towards the warehouse. And so you travel probably about 50, 60 feet or so until your guess would be that you're probably directly under the warehouse at this point. When you come to a set of doors that are wooden, but they look pretty severe. It looks pretty stout, iron-bound wooden doors. And they have some reliefs kind of carved into them that it's not easy to discern exactly what it's depicting. It kind of looks almost like fire, but it's real stylistic. And there's no figures or humanoid shapes or anything like that. It just seems to be almost like fire climbing up like trees or something. But again, it's very stylized and it's hard to discern exactly what it's referencing. But it looks very old.
I ask him what that is.
He says, I don't rightly know. He says, I think it's something Durathian dealing with some kind of tragedy that happened back whenever they were real close with the elves of old. He said, but honestly, and he kind of leans close and he said, it's all Durathian and elven stuff. He said, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. What you got, Eli?
Could I make an insight check or something, or a knowledge history to see if I'm familiar with it as a Durathian?
Yeah, absolutely. You can make a history roll.
Okay, so my history, it's a
what?
-1, so
Can I
I
also
got a
make a history
17
roll?
total.
17 total for Eagle. You were asking if you could also make a history roll, Brother Cutter?
Mhm.
Yes, you may.
I have expertise in it, so I'm pretty damn good. Oh. I got 10.
A what?
Said I got 10.
A 10. Okay. A 10, unfortunately, is not good enough. But you know of a couple different tragedies that happened, the elves and the Durathians, so it's kind of really hard to narrow it down to one specific one that he might be talking about. But Eagle Witness, you do recall a particular telling of a pretty sizable forest that was important to the ancient Durathians in their religious beliefs. And it had a tribe of elves that kind of lived there and had taught of the Durathians, a lot of things about nature magic and things like that. And there was a war between them that had broke out between them and the hobgoblins that used to be a lot more prominent in this area. And the hobgoblins decided that they couldn't win this battle, and so what they did is they set a purposeful forest fire, and it was pretty brutal, and it actually ended up leading to kind of the complete wiping out of that particular tribe of elves.
Okay, so then as I'm looking at this, and as Cutter and Ogden are kind of having their conversation, I'm just going to be kind of tracing the story as I'm following it along, but I'm going to say, many years ago, long before you and your kind ever came to the Caldera, before the Caldera was even the Caldera, there was a great forest here, and many elves and Durathians lived there together, but they warred with the hobgoblins, and it was a terrible time. And the elves were destroyed, routed in this time, and you can see eventually they would disappear entirely.
Do you know the names of these elves? Or the name of the forest?
No. Neither did anyone in my tribe. Such is the loss of our history.
Perfect. Ogden kind of looks at you and says, "Huh, I'll be damned." And he
Man of many words.
he kind of keeps going forward, and he says, "Well, this way through the magic tree doors." And he walks up to them and kind of gives them a pretty hearty shove right in the middle, and they kind of resist just a bit at first, and then swing open wide. And inside is a pretty decently sized space. It's probably about 50 by 50 or so. And there's all kinds of stuff down here. It's not kind of all laid out in the open necessarily, but there's chests and cases and things wrapped in cloth, and there's tables and kind of pigeonholes everywhere where things are stowed away and what have you. And there's all kinds of magical energies that are glowing down here, and noises, and a lot of really odd smells. Some of them a little stronger than others. It's definitely a little bit of a sensory overload as you walk into this space. It's more magic than you have ever seen in one location, that is for certain.
Whew.
I'll whisper, "Luz, preserve me."
He says, "Yep, that's about right."
I'll echo his sentiments earlier. Well, I'll be damned.
He just kind of chuckles.
I'll just kind of vibrate slowly, like, I need to study all of this.
He kind of looks at you seriously. He says, well, I don't think that's going to happen. He says, all right. He kind of walks to a large table in the middle, and he kind of scoots stuff that's on it kind of off to one side, rolls up a couple of papers that he had laid out there. The one thing you notice is that this space, those of you who were in his office earlier, Brother Padre Estevez and Dariel, where his office earlier was kind of a cluttered mess, this place is actually really, really organized. It's very, very, everything has its place. It looks like he keeps up with this a lot closer than he did his office. He says, all right, so what do you boys have?
I will set the magic missile gun on the table and the Holy Ghost and say, I would like you to combine these two objects.
All right. He says, let's have a look here. He says, you just want to tell me what it does, or you want me to look for myself?
It has the power to shoot energy from it, and I'll explain what it does.
Okay.
I mean, I probably don't use the term magic missile because that's not magic I understand. But
right. Yeah, he kind of nods along like he's understanding what you're saying. He says, "All right." He says, "Yeah, I think I understand the threads that run through this piece."
And then, in addition, and I'll set the bag of stained glass shards that I have on the table and say, could you put the power of this glass into these shells and then put a bag of shotgun shells on the table?
He says, well, I definitely know what this glass does. He says, I think that's probably workable. He says, now, I know you boys seem like you probably have quite a bit that you want done. He said, and I'll have to tell you that it is not cheap to do this kind of work. He says, so you very well may have to pick and choose what you want done.
I understand, my son.
Excellent. He says, all right. He says, so we're taking the power from this glass here, and you're wanting that put into shells. He says, all right, I think that's definitely manageable. He says, and what is it you want done with these two long arms?
I would like the power of the wand placed into the Holy Ghost.
The Holy Ghost, he says. He kind of laughs and shakes his head. He says, that's what you call this piece here. He touches your rifle, your shotgun.
Yeah, that is correct.
He says, all right. He kind of groups those together, kind of slides them to a specific place on the table, and he says, what else?
That is all that I desire, and I'll indicate the party. But I believe my companions would like your services as well.
Okay. What you boys got? He looks to the rest of you.
So Eagle Witness will step forward, and he will say, he'll hold up this belt that he's had around his waist. He says, this is an item that will make me endure many hardships, and in particular, it has no love of orcs or goblins. I would transfer that power into these chaps upon my legs, so that my legs might never tire. And then he also holds up these gloves that he's not wearing, but he's got in his hands. He says, these gloves, I hear, can snatch bullets from the sky, but then he indicates this chest of woven armor that he has that's actually a bunch of like blackened knuckle bones.
Mm-hmm.
he says, I took these fingers from a dwarven war party that was trying to kill me out in the Caldera. I would have their hands reach from this armor and snatch the bullets for me.
He says, that's, you got a set of huevos on you asking a dwarf to work with dwarven knuckle bones. He says, but I suppose they deserved what was coming to them.
Yes, they attacked first.
He says, all right, I'll take your word for it there, Durathian. He says, all right. He's actually been inspecting the items that you guys have been handing over to him, and he looks not quite giddy, but maybe about as giddy as a dwarf would get. He definitely seems to be excited about looking at this stuff and kind of learning what it can do and the potential of being able to work with this stuff. It's almost a different dwarf in behavior. Okay. Anybody else?
Connor is going to ask him, well, do you sell anything? Do you have anything that you have down here that nobody else knows about?
He says, yeah, I have some stuff that nobody else knows about down here, that's for certain. He says, for selling? He says, possibly. He said, a lot of that will depend on what you have to offer in exchange. He says, this is not a general store, mind you. He said, while coin is very much needed for a lot of the rest of this, he said, it's not like I'm hurting for money. He said, a lot of this is money that has to be consumed by the process. He says, so purchase I'm not as interested in, but it's a little bit more of a barter and trade system, if you will. Okay. Yeah.
After everybody else is done, I want to pass him a note that I wrote indicating desire to learn from him. I don't have any product that I need currently, but
Okay. Okay. Let's see here. All right, so Padre, you had the magic missile gun you were wanting imparted, as well as what was the second thing? The shards.
Yeah. Do you want to know how many there are?
Well, he's going to provide you with a price, and then you can determine how many you want.
Okay.
Shifted. And then Eagle, you had a belt, and then the bullet catching gloves. Is that correct?
You're muted, Eli.
Sorry, yeah, it's the belt of Dagdun Kemar and the gloves of bullet catching.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay. Was there any other items that anybody was interested in having swapped?
I don't have any extra stuff later.
Okay. I'm willing to barter that Dreamcatcher, even though, but it was our first coup. Yeah, I'm going to keep it. Bye.
I have 2 scrolls I will trade.
Okay. I know Cutter. Is Cutter not interested in those particular scrolls?
He already copied them.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I copied them. I'd be much more interested in getting different scrolls.
Right.
So lots of spells that I would be interested in learning.
Okay.
I don't have anything for trade, but if there's anything for buy-in, or I can finance someone else's, if they want to trade something up, maybe if he's got just pistol that might be special, I'd be open for another pistol.
Okay. So just right now, as far as the items that we need or are interested in deconstructing and imparting to new items, we've got the wand, the glass shards, and then the belt and the gloves. That's all I have.
I have a quick question. What about those items that our Russian Batrider had?
Those are still floating around in the party. I don't believe that anybody has claimed them.
What did he have again?
What have we got there?
Yeah, if he didn't fly off with him somewhere, then...
There's a gun that just deals more damage. Like, it's magic.
The rifle thing that he had was pretty nasty.
Yeah, so he has the boots that he was wearing are called Born in the Saddle. These supple boots are made from centaur leather and are affixed with spurs made from smelted shackles, claimed to have once held ancient prisoners in the dungeons of Salkin prison. For some reason, horses seem to take a liking to whoever is wearing these. The wearer of these boots is treated as being proficient in animal handling. In addition, their proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check they make that uses this skill while riding an animal.
I don't know if anyone wants that. That might be a good thing to trade.
I want that. Gives me proficiency in a skill I don't have proficiency in.
Okay, never mind.
And the rifle that he had is called Edgar Murphy's Bushwhacker. This particular rifle, a model of firearm typically manufactured by a gunsmith out of Ridgeline named Edmund Donovan, appears to have been made a bit oversized. This thing looks like it can pack a serious punch. This gun has been reforged by a mage rite, the metal of its chamber having been made from a rod of enlarge. This has made the gun somewhat bigger in size, but the change can truly be seen with its bullets. Normal bullets go in, but the rounds that come out behave as if fired by a creature under the effects of an enlarged spell, cast at 3rd level or higher. This grants them 1 additional die to their normal damage.
Want. If no one else wants it.
You can have it.
All right.
Is Telmenon up to be bartered then?
I was just going to throw that into a regular pistol.
Yeah, if you're taking that rifle, I wouldn't mind the Telmed because it has explosives.
Yeah, sure.
I just realized.
Yeah.
Imagine if you fired that off, it would like throw you back 5 feet.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Okay. So,
extra damage magical?
Is it magical?
Yeah. Does that count as like magic damage against anything resistant?
No. You're talking about out of his rifle? The Bushwhacker?
Right.
No. It literally fires bullets that are bigger than should be able to come out of the gun.
Alright, I still want it.
Okay. But yeah, it does not count as magical. Okay. So, the way that I have it set up so that weapons work, at least, is there are 4 parts. Nope, 3 parts. There's 3 parts to each weapon. You have the grip, you have the barrel, and then you have the mechanism, which is both the trigger and the bullet chamber. And so that's how many slots each weapon has for enhancements. Okay. Typically, they're going to have something tied to that specific part. So the barrel will have something to do with the actual ammunition that comes out of it, or the effect that comes out of it. The trigger and the chamber will have something to do with the kind of damage that it deals, and then the grip will have something to do with like its accuracy or how fast you can draw it, or something to that effect. It doesn't have to be that. It's not strict, but that's kind of what I was going for whenever I designed all of that. So, as far as the Wand of Magic missiles being broken down.
Can I suggest something?
Sure. What you got?
Could we just take the effect of the magic missile that it automatically hits, and make that what the shotgun does then?
Well, I don't know, because a shotgun does a cone effect. and having it to where everything within the cone is just automatically hit is probably a bit much.
Okay, it's just a suggestion. So.
Yeah, and I'm totally on board with listening and hearing that kind of stuff out. But because like in a 60-foot cone, you could theoretically hit a pretty sizable amount of creatures.
And that's why I like the idea.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it already pretty much a guaranteed hit? It's just either half damage, unless they have evasion.
Yeah, because it's a saving throw to get half damage if they're caught inside of it, anyways.
How about its magic force damage then? It's just light
force damage, and it's force damage instead of piercing.
It's magic force damage, so it's a magic shot, but and I'm still fine like putting a shell in. Like I still have to waste ammunition. It's just magic force damage is the type of damage it does.
Okay. That's definitely something that's doable. So the only thing that basically what you would be getting out of breaking down the wand of magic missiles would be that effect, though. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, that's absolutely something that can happen.
Okay, so it's a magic weapon then.
Yes. Yeah. Each shot from it will be considered magic, and it will be dealing force damage instead of piercing damage.
Okay.
Okay. And and the cost of this, and again, it is meant to be very cost prohibitive. It's supposed to be very expensive. So each enchantment that you're going to destroy one item and then swap over is going to cost you 500 gold pieces.
Okay. Can I show him my scrolls that I have and say, "Will you take barter?"
He says, "I can certainly look at the items that you might be willing to trade to bring the price down a bit." He said, "But a lot of this, has to be gold that is consumed by this process."
I understand, but I will show him the scroll of inflict wounds and scroll of alarm.
Okay. He kind of reads them over real quickly, and he says, "All right." He says, "You're going to trade both of these towards this one purchase?"
Depends how much it brings it down. How much each scroll brings the cost down.
I see. He says, "Yeah, that makes sense." He says, "I'd be willing to bring it down to 400 gold pieces for both of these."
So 100 total if I do both.
No, it'd be 400.
Bring it down. Bring it down 100 total. Is what I mean. So the total price is 400.
Yes, that is correct. It'd be 400 gold pieces plus these 2 scrolls in exchange.
I will give you the money that you would save if you will exchange it for other scrolls that I could use for rituals.
Okay, I'll hand the scrolls to Brother Cutter then.
All right.
And I'll hand the dwarf 400 gold and let Cutter hand him 100.
I gladly hand him 100 gold.
Okay. Yeah, so he'll take the 500 gold and he puts it into a leather sack, and he actually keeps it separated. He takes that 500 gold pieces and he puts it into a leather sack, kind of ties the top of it shut, and sets it with the items that are involved in that transition. He kind of pushes them off to the side as if that's said and done. Then he looks to the glass shards, and he says, "All right." He says, "So each one of these," he says, "is going to be 75 gold pieces."
I will pick up my bag and put them away and say, "Perhaps another time."
Very well. Okay.
Eagle Witness is just, without even really batting an eyelash, she's just going to reach into his hip bag and pull out 1,000 coins and hand them for both items.
Okay, and they are. This is all gold.
Sorry.
This is all gold.
I feel like 1,000 coins in a bag is going to be super heavy. So if there are bills, I feel like that'd be better. But whatever.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, there will have to be a portion of it that's gold because, again, it has to do with the actual process of the transition. But
Sure.
he absolutely will take bills as well.
Cool. Yeah, then I'll give however much gold he needs, and then the rest would be bills.
Okay. I'm going to say about half of each transition or transaction needs to be in gold.
Sounds good.
So you hand him 500 gold coins and then 500 bills, and he looks through it, makes sure it's all on the up and up, puts it in a bag, and then slides it over with your belt and the gloves. And he says the other caveat is that the item that you want imbued has to stay here with me. He says, obviously.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
How long does it take?
He says, well, each one of these takes me the better part of a day. He said, and unfortunately I do have my day job that I can't be gone from for too long. He said, so right now we're looking at about 3 days.
Fine.
Alrighty. Okay. He says, now, as far as trade goes,
I would like to see if I'd like to get the bushwhacker rifle into my pistol.
okay. Then he takes the two and he kind of looks at them. He says, yeah, I think that could be done.
Perfect.
Okay.
And I'll borrow 200 from Brother Cutter and part with all of my money.
Okay. Hang on a second. Question in chat here. Inherited. Okay. Yeah, and he takes the money from that, puts it in a separate little leather satchel, lines it up, puts it with the items that are involved in that particular transaction, and then he says, okay, if there's no more of that business that needs to be taken care of, he said, we can start talking about our barter.
Excellent. What magic items do you have for bartering?
He says it's going to be a lot simpler of a question as to what you're looking for.
Well, anything that improves my already large repertoire of abilities would be good. Scrolls that have rituals on them are especially interesting to me. I am trying to build a catalog of ritual spells.
Right.
And I would also be interested in anything that imbues its user with additional magical powers.
Okay, he says, and he kind of strokes his small cropped beard. He says, I think there might be a couple of things that could interest you. He said, what are you willing to trade with them?
He takes the two scrolls that he just got and said, well, I have scrolls.
Uh-huh.
He reaches into his bag and slowly pulls out this ladder, just huge ladder out of his tiny bag, and says, I have this ladder.
Interesting. You pull out the ladder, and you notice that his eyes don't really leave the pouch that you pulled it out of. He says, "How much you want to get rid of that pouch there?"
He said, I would be willing to allow you to study it, but you can't have it. I need it. I reach into it and I just start pulling out books and see all the books I carry with me? I couldn't possibly carry all these without my bag.
He says, fair enough. It never hurts to ask. He says, now, about this ladder. He says, what good is a ladder to me? Is that a dwarf joke?
Cutter Cutter laughs like, no, it's not because you're very tiny, because you're only a little bit tiny. No, it's because this ladder, and he sits it up, and the ladder just kind of stands up, and he's like, well, then if you climb up in the ladder, you're in a special little space, and no one can see you.
He grabs an item that looks almost like a shot glass. Looks like almost something between a cross between like a shot glass or like a jeweler's lens. Kind of holds it up to his eye, looks up at the ladder, and he says, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. It's interesting. He says, all right. He says, I'll tell you what.
Hold on, I have more.
Oh, all right. He starts clearing more table space.
I pull out my ritual book and say, I can copy any of these spells into scrolls for you.
Okay. Is that all?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. And he says, kind of takes a look at everything, and he says, I'll tell you what. He says, I will allow you to copy any of the rituals that I have in my library here in exchange for you writing a scroll of the rituals that you have, plus 50 gold pieces per. And he said, that exchange suffices to me, if it suffices to you.
Who gets the 50 gold? Am I giving you 50 gold?
Yes, sir.
So you understand that the creation of scrolls, both from my ritual book and then from your scrolls into my ritual book, is costly enough. It is very much more expensive to make the scrolls than the amount you're asking for. I think you undervalue the value of the scroll I would be making for you.
He says, I can have other people copy them later on if you'd like. That tends to up my profits, as it were.
Precisely. If I make these scrolls for you, you have much more value from them than the 50 gold per. I would rather do away with the 50 gold and just exchange magic.
He laughs and he says, I'm sure you would. He says, but like I said, it takes money it takes gold for this stuff to work.
Yes, and I'm using my gold in order to transcribe the magic into my book. It will cost you no gold.
He says, that sounds like your problem. If you don't want the service, you certainly don't have to purchase it.
I'm the one doing the service, though. You're not doing any magic here.
He says, look, pal, you came to me. He says, if you want this, then I offer a price. He said, if you want it, you can pay it, and if you don't have to pay it. It's as simple as that. There's no reason to get complex about it.
I say, fine. I will peruse your scrolls to see which are worth taking.
Very well. And he kind of points you over to one of the pigeonholed kind of cubbies that's over to the side. And essentially, mechanically, the way that I'm going to handle it is it contains all ritual spells. So any that you have the ability to copy, based on level or what have you, you are able to do so. And the only cost is the transference of one of the ones you already know plus the 50 gold pieces.
I have a question. Can I write down in non-magical ink the ritual and then later transcribe it into my book?
Nope.
Right. I have to come back in 2 levels then, because there's lots of rituals that I can do in 2 levels.
Okay. Yeah, you get the feeling that this guy has probably been here and doing what he's doing for a while. So he's probably going to be here in 2 levels, unless something happens and word gets out that that he's doing what he's doing, and then maybe not. But you get the feeling that more than likely he'll be here.
I'd also really like Brian to answer the question in chat.
What you got?
I keep asking him if he knows the spell Beast Sense.
I don't know.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely not.
Oh, how do you keep looking through the eyes of your bird, then?
It's a familiar.
Oh, okay.
Secrets.
Double blind. I don't know if I have double blind written down.
Derek was just asking about it in chat, if we wanted to trade it or not. So I have no idea what it is. So I was wondering.
It's the ladder thing that Cutter set up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Whatever.
It's kind of like rope trick, except instead of it being like a somewhat larger extra-dimensional space at the top of the rope, it's a smaller extra-dimensional space at the top of a ladder, more the size of like a deer blind, and it has basically a window on each side that can be opened that looks between that extra-dimensional space and the material plane.
Ah, that's cool.
Okay. So...
What about magic items? Does he have magic items to trade?
Yes, he does. He has a whole bunch of random miscellaneous things down here, and you were after things that could potentially increase your spellcasting ability and give you access to proficiencies that you don't already have?
Yes, I want proficiencies or possibly the ability to learn more cantrips.
Ah, okay. Yeah, again, he has a whole bunch of stuff down here, and it's really kind of one of those things where, as a DM, I'm not going to outfit all of everything that he's got down here. It's kind of just whatever you're kind of looking for. He'll see if he's got it, that kind of thing. So, yeah, he definitely has a, I think there's a feat. Let me check real fast. I believe there's a feat that allows you to learn extra skills, if I'm not mistaken. Skilled.
Yeah, it's called skilled.
Yeah.
Yep. You gain proficiency in a combination of 3 skills or tools of your choice. Okay. So yeah, he has a hat. It's, you know, looks kind of like a bowler hat or a derby hat. It's made out of beaver skin, so it's, you know, water repellent, all that kind of good stuff. And it allows the wearer, after attuned, to have the skilled feat.
Excellent. What about cantrips? Does he have a book or something that I can learn that allows me to have cantrips?
Let's see. Oh, I got an idea. Hang on.
There's a feat that lets you learn 1, Jeremy, if you need a source for that.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. What is the thing?
There's a feat that gives you 2 cantrips called Magic Initiate.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is he actually has a very old, basically a Book of Shadows from an old warlock that was, you know, lost or what have you. So inside of it, there are 2 first-level spells that have the ritual tag, and in addition, there are 3 cantrips.
Excellent. That sounds much better than everything else.
Okay. You're wanting to trade for that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So you have offered the double blind, and I think that was it, magic item-wise?
Also the scrolls, since I'm making new scrolls for him, I don't know if he also wants those scrolls, because inflict wounds is not a ritual.
No, he's interested in more than just the ritual scrolls. So I mean, yeah, he definitely is interested in the 2 scrolls as well. So 2 scrolls and the double blind. He'll tell you that he's willing to barter with those on the table, and then an additional 300 gold pieces on top of that.
I ask him if there's some kind of bulk discount I can get.
He kind of laughs and says, he says, all right. He says, yeah, since you're doing a lot of the other transcribing work. He says, "Yeah, I can part with this for what was already offered, and I'll bring the cost of the gold down from 300 to 150."
Excellent. I agree to those terms.
Okay. So double blind, both of the scrolls that you had, and 150 gold pieces in exchange for that Book of Shadows.
Yay. Did you say they're first level ritual spells?
Yeah, there are 2 first level ritual spells, and then 3 cantrips.
Is there any chance it can be a first and a second? Because I only don't know 1 first level ritual spell.
No, unfortunately.
Can it be just 1 second level?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. You can get rid of the 2 first level rituals and have 1 second level ritual. That's fine.
All right, cool.
Okay. Is there anything else that anybody would like to deal with this mage rite?
Nope.
I got nothing else to give.
All right.
Is Mad Dog done casing the joint?
He was done a long time ago, man. He thoroughly went through everything.
Did he?
This is retirement here.
All right. So, as far as the note that was given to him by Joe, he informs you that it's possible to teach this kind of thing to somebody. He said, but it's a lifelong kind of dedication. He said, and it takes more out of you than you might think. He said, so if you're serious about learning, he says, you'll have to come back here often and spend a lot of time with me.
Looks like it might cost an arm and a leg.
At first, he looks like he might get kind of mad at this, and then he stops, and then he starts cracking up laughing. And he slams his ghostly fist kind of down on the table a couple of times, making the coin kind of jingle. And he said, you know what? That's the funniest damn thing I've heard in a while, halfling. Yeah, you can have a point of inspiration, Mike. It's hilarious. All right. So, if you guys are finished here, again, you have to leave the item that you're wanting to disenchant as well as the item that you're wanting to enchant with him. And he informs you that with the magic missile gun, the belt, the gloves, as well as the bushwhacker, it's going to take him 4 days to complete the entirety of the work that's been laid out. So those items you will be down for 4 days. All right.
Sounds good.
I'm going to take the Ring of Silence off the shotgun before we leave, though.
Okay. Yeah, and what did you have, Alex?
In order to copy all this, I either need to temporarily borrow his scrolls, or I need to stay in here with his scrolls.
Yeah.
We either can say the magic items are collateral, or he can just let me chill in here after zone of truthing me that I won't muck with anything.
Yeah. Yeah, he can actually he'll tell you that you can have the time that you need down here to copy things, and he kind of points to a small little space in the corner. It's got a couple of places that look like you could probably use them as a bed. It's got some blankets and pillows and things like that. All right. So you guys depart from this and kind of go through the reverse of what you went through to get here, those of you who are leaving. And he basically tells you that he'll see you later. He tells you not to get into too much trouble.
Cool.
I'd like to tell him the same.
He says, you bet. All right. So, you guys kind of wander back into the town proper of Mournful Valley, kind of in the middle of the night, the wee hours of the morning. and stagger back to wherever it is that you're bedding down for the night. And the night passes uneventfully.
Cool.
Well, so you gonna start work that evening or the next morning, or next day rather?
Probably that evening.
Okay. If he was not against it, I would have stayed to help and start the apprenticing learning process.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, he'll let you stay down there if you'd like. Like I said, there's a couple different places. It looks like you could probably sleep down there.
That evening, I attune to the shield of Saint Thord.
Okay. Excellent.
I'll do the same with Telmetin if it requires it.
I don't think it does. I'll double check.
It's something I meant to ask earlier, but I was going to whenever I tried to talk to him in Thieves Camp. Would there be any way that I could add him onto my criminal contact list, just to have somebody else on this other side of the world?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
What was his name again?
Ogden Kell. I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything that you guys are wanting to accomplish in the downtime, the 4 days or so that you have in town?
I will put my services to work at the church, helping lead services and heal the sick.
Absolutely. Okay.
I'll follow with that.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a very large church, because there's probably about only 200 or 300 people that live in town. But there's definitely plenty to do. They do a lot of charity work around town, helping repair buildings and taking, soup to the people who are too infirm to get out of bed or what have you.
Is there anything more active, as in any reports of unsavoriness going around?
Yeah, there's definitely that kind of activity that happens. But I mean, it's not like a super sinister kind of plots that are going on. It's so and so.
Mainly just about Mad Dog.
Right. Every day, this halfling comes and gets himself arrested, and no. So it's things like so and so owes me money, or I'm pretty sure that so and so stole my plow horse, and this guy likes to cheat at cards. It's pretty low key stuff.
All right. I'm not going to deal with the low key stuff. Any bandits? Any bandit reports or anything like that?
It's been fairly quiet in this immediate area since you guys took care, or the Angels of the Gallows took care of Murphy's Maniacs not that long ago. So there's kind of a vacuum right now, if you will, of bandit activity. So there is definitely reports of it happening, but none of it sounds like it's too organized. It's one guy knocked over a bank in this town. 2 guys, held up a stagecoach here, but none of it really sounds like it was the same people. You haven't heard any group names or anything like that come up. So it's kind of starting to happen, but it's definitely not coalesced yet.
All right. I'll probably split my time between the church and the sheriff's office then.
Okay. Sure. Anybody else?
I would like to see what more I can find out about that Durathian tribe that the half-orc guy mentioned, the people who are basically coming in and taking the hide and stuff from poached animals.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So doing a little bit of digging, possibly, kind of heading out to kind of watch them do what they're doing. You would be able to see that they are in fact Durathian. However, from your best guess, it looks like most of them have been, pardon the term, but kind of whitewashed. they've kind of adapted to the Eastern way of living.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of Eastern clothing. It's kind of adopted, and they use their guns a lot more than anything else. But they appear to you to be Kitschki.
Okay.
This is pretty far north for Kitschki. It's pretty far out of their territory. But they also look like they're being led by a Shondo.
Ah, okay. Good to know.
And the fact that they're working together is pretty strange in and of itself.
Okay.
I
assume the Shondo is Easternized as well.
He is not as Easternized as a lot of the ones that are working for him, but he definitely has traits that are less than pure Durathian, if you will.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, then I will absolutely be keeping an eye on them, keeping an ear out for news about them during the 4 days.
Okay.
Is this the town that we were headed to that had the big military presence, or is that further down the line still?
No, yeah, it's pretty far east of here.
Okay.
It's called Overlook Mission.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Dog's going to see if he can find out more about Sue and her friends for the rest of the stay.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like I said, it's a 2 gold piece for a shorter visit. 10 gold for an overnight, as well as the cost of the stay at the saloon. So.
Then I'm gonna spend 10 gold at a time for short visits and just have 5 at a time.
Fair enough. All right. So yeah, news of Mad Dog certainly kind of becomes lip service around town, if you will.
Well, I didn't spend all my money on fancy magic items, so I gotta spend it somewhere.
You can have a point of inspiration, Derek. That's funny. Okay. Anything else during the 4-day period of time that people are going to be taking care of?
Cutter will probably just spend his time bouncing between following around Eagle and following around the Padre.
Okay.
The Padre will inform the local priestess about the werewolves, and I don't remember the town, but just in case, and Scattergun Flash, just in case the main church hasn't sent word to all the outlier churches yet.
She informs you that she has not heard back from that information from the church yet. She said, but that is truly troubling news, and she says that hopefully Luzite will cleanse that place of this kind of evil, and it won't spread this far.
Luz willing, but be vigilant on the full moon.
I see. Is there any advice as to precautions we can take to protect ourselves from these creatures?
Keep holy water and silver handy. Mundane weapons do no harm to these foul beasts.
Ooh, that is truly disconcerting. Thank you, Padre. Okay. All right. So we're only about 20 minutes from when I was planning on calling it today, and we're at a pretty good stopping point. And if there's no other business you guys want to take care of over the 4-day break before the Majorite has your things finished, then we'll go ahead and call the session here a little early. Everybody okay with that?
That works for me.
Cool. All right, then. So thank you guys very much for tuning in, whether it be while it was live or whether it be later on. Thank all of you guys very much for playing once again. It's always a pleasure. And until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.